Pirates Full Level System, Chapter 441-460. Chapter 441. Earl has something. The changes in the Jade Talisman come and go quickly. If it weren't for the wailing scream of the Red Earl just now, and the burn scar on his hand, the two people on the side would have thought that the fleeting dazzling white light was just their hallucination. Torapal and King Noraz looked at each other, not knowing what to say. Especially King Noraz. He handed this Jade Talisman to the Red Earl. As a result, this kind of accident happened, and the Red Earl was injured because of it. King Noraz couldn't help but worry about whether the Red Earl would take his anger out on him. Red Earl, I really don't know that this kind of change will happen to this Jade. I haven't seen such a situation in the past few years. I really didn't mean to hurt you. King Noraz XVI explained desperately with a stiff, pale face. If it weren't for the self-consciousness and dignity of being a king, he probably would have knelt down to the Red Earl. The Red Earl ignored King Noraz at all. The Red Earl knew that even if he gave King Noraz XVI a few more courage, this guy who was afraid of death would not dare to count himself. The Red Earl looked carefully at the jade stone on the ground that had returned to its original shape. The material of this jade is not ordinary jade, or it is not jade at all. The force he used to throw the jade from his hand just now was not small. Suddenly injured by a piece of jade, even the Red Earl lost his sense. It was basically the Red Earl's instinctive full force, and the jade hit the ground without any damage. At this time, the jade was lying quietly on the ground, emitting a faint bright light, and the lines, graphics and words on it flashed outlines in the faint light, giving people a sense of mystery. Only the Red Earl knew best that he was not scalded by the Jade Talisman at all. The scars on his hands and the dull pain all told him that it was a sunburn. His hands were sunburned by that dazzling divine light. The moment he touched the jade, the Red Earl raised a threat of death like an alarm. It was this threat of death that made him throw away the jade in advance, otherwise it would only make him more seriously injured. This unpleasant white light, this threat of death, reminded the Red Earl of a place. The sanctuary church in the city of saints in the new world of the Great Root. Where did he go once when he was young? It was the same white light and this feeling of heart palpitations that made him leave the island as if he were running away, and never went there again. Originally, Earl Red thought that this memory had been sealed in his mind, but he didn't expect him to think about it again and encounter the same situation as at that time on a piece of jade. Thinking of this, he sorted out his thoughts and changed back to the confident and calm Red Earl. Holding the injured hand with the other hand, the ability stimulates, thinking that as long as the Red Earl uses his ability, some wounds will be able to heal quickly. But this time was different. The Red Earl felt that there was a strange substance on the wound that was preventing him from healing the wound, and it kept giving him a stinging pain, like a kind of criminal law. The Red Earl covered the wound with clothes and pretended to be fine. Whether it was the condition of the wound or those experiences and conjectures, the Red Earl would never say it was his secret. It's okay, I don't blame you. But is that what Nicole Olivia is looking for? There's something magical about it. When he said this, Chin Luo, who was watching all this in the Shinwei space, touched Olivia's arm, and his playful eyes were clearly saying, "You are too careless, the Red Earl. Even what are you looking for? Everything is checked." It attracted a flurry of hammering from Olivia's small fist. "Lord Red Earl, can you see the meaning of the text and graphics above? What is Nicole Olivia doing looking for this jade? Could it be related to the three ancient weapons?" In order to divert the embarrassment, Torapal came up as 3 sets of quality. "No, it's 3 consecutive problems. I don't know, I haven't seen the text and graphics on it, maybe it's a text handle hundreds of years ago. As for the meaning of Nicole Olivia's finding this jade, and whether it is related to the 3 ancient weapons, then only I'll ask her about it after you catch her." The Red Earl is actually hiding something. He can actually feel that this jade may be related to his origin and blood. After this incident, the Red Earl plans to visit his family castle. Something he should be able to find answers there. "Put it away and put it away." The Red Earl pointed to King Noraz and instructed, he also wanted to take this magical jade with him. But thinking about the threat of death and the wound on his hand, the Red Earl just thought about it. With a bomb that will detonate at any time, how big your heart will be. King Norris was frightened and picked up the jade and put it back in the wooden box. The process is extremely slow and careful, and the experience of the Red Earl just now shows that this jade is not a harmless thing. At least the faint smell of burnt meat in the room made King Norris be extremely careful about this jade. Fortunately, there were no accidents during the whole process. After King Norris successfully put the jade back into the dark grid, the jade remained calm and shimmering. King Norris felt a cold sweat that didn't exist, feeling that he had escaped the catastrophe. Chin Luo and Olivia came out of the Shinwei space after the three Earl Red had left for a while. Everything that happened in the room just now, both of them understood in the Shinwei space. Whether it is the method of opening the dark grid or the mutation of the jade in the hand of the Red Earl. Less than 10 minutes, the jade talisman in Olivia's mouth, saw the sun again, and was played by Chin Luo and Olivia in their hands, and there was nothing unusual. Why hasn't there been any change? Chin Luo pointed out, referring to the strange white light emitted by the jade when the Red Earl got it. I don't know if it could be the reason for the devil fruit. You are not a devil fruit person. Even so, Olivia was basically certain that Chin Luochi had too many strange abilities, not like an ability person. On the contrary, both of them felt that the Red Earl was a capable person. I'm not. Wait for me, I'll do an experiment. Chin Luo disappeared with the jade talisman after he finished speaking, and reappeared a few seconds later. It has nothing to do with devil fruit. Chin Luo thought for a while, then continued, could it be that the legend is true? The Earl has something. Did you think about it too? Olivia's eyes lit up. Speak together. Good. Vampires. Ha. Chin Luo and Olivia said the same thing in unison 3 times in a row. After saying that, they laughed together. Maybe it's called fate. Chapter 442 Gay Pull the Chain. Whether this kind of thing counts as fate, I don't know. Dog food is real. Sure enough, the rumors are not groundless. Since the undead fleet has appeared, vampires are not so strange. When Olivia mentioned the undead fleet, Chin Luo felt a little guilty. At the same time, Chin Luo remembered the 3-headed dog he had seen in Gecko Moria. It turned out that he had seen the legendary thing before, but he didn't even notice it. Yeah, I used to think that Earl Red was wearing this way just because his inner second soul broke out. He wanted to cosplay a vampire, but I didn't expect it to be a genuine product. Chin Luo whispered. What? Chin Luo's words contained many things that Olivia had never heard of. What is the second grade, and what the hell is cosplay? It's nothing. By the way, do you recognize the characters and patterns on it? Chin Luo turned over the jade talisman, and finally pointed to one side and asked. Olivia shook her head. This is a text from 1,000 years ago, or a sacred text. I have to go back to O'Hara to find relevant materials before I can translate it slowly. Then are you going back to O'Hara? I'll take you back. Chin 153 Luo shrugged. He didn't know anything about archaeology or foreign languages. Reason tells him not to make any comments. Instead, Chin Luo agreed to send Olivia back to O'Hara. Marine's fleet is on the way. How can these scholars study with peace of mind? It's a bit heartless, isn't it? At this time, whether it is fleeing or fighting, we must act quickly. Don't worry, even if you don't have those materials, you can study it, just like these. Olivia showed Chin Luo the back of the wooden box containing the jade talisman, and there were rows of incomprehensible words on it. It seems that the 2 words are different. Chin Luo compared and found the clue. Several times Chin Luo had the urge to directly ask the system to help translate these words, on the historical text, on the jade talisman, and on the back of the wooden box. But in the end, the price of the system was fooled. The system is an unscrupulous profiteer, but it is expensive to translate a word. Chin Luo has a backbone, and even if he is hurt by curiosity, he will never contribute to the arrogance of the profiteer system. Well, this type of script is a common script from 1,000 years ago. I can understand it. However, these characters are not complete. There should be 4 pieces of this jade talisman and the corresponding wooden box in total. With a pair of eyes on, with the appearance of disguise now, it is really a little handsome. Qin Luo almost bent. What to do next, you tell me. Qin Luo handed over the jade talisman. Since Olivia was in no hurry, he couldn't force her to return to O'Hara. Yeah, why is it so icy? Olivia, who got the jade talisman, almost threw it away. The subject of the experiment just now is a frozen devil fruit person. Qin Luo replied casually, and on the Marine Fleet, which was still a few days away from Chateau's Island, someone who had just been woken up from a dream with facial paralysis couldn't help but slapped him. Sneeze. Actually, I still have a few clues and ruins to look for. I was hunted down and didn't have enough strength to dare to go. Now it's different with you. You won't be reluctant to take it. Olivia's tone could not be rejected. Qin Luo nodded and said that he was casual. With his strength, the adventure could be a honeymoon. Olivia underestimated him too much. Now that the jade talisman has been obtained, the purpose of this trip has been achieved, and Qin Luo and Olivia plan to return to the banquet. Leaving too long can still arouse suspicion. Before closing the secret box, Qin Luo went to the system to get a fake jade talisman and wooden box. This kind of fake goods is generally cabbage price, and the exact same imitation is only 100 points. When Qin Luo and Olivia returned to the banquet was only halfway through. The representatives of most of the forces have been disguised by disguise. Except for the relatively good relations, most of them are in charge of their own. So Qin Luo and Olivia appeared from the corner without attracting much attention. But there are surprises in everything, and some people's ability to attract bees and butterflies has nothing to do with gender. Brother Junmei, I don't know if I'm lucky enough to know your name. Don't think this is going to Olivia after disguise. Qin Luo in the fat state has nothing to do with the word Junmei. Before, there were various noble ladies and ladies who came to Olivia. Qin Luo was very tasty, because the Olivia woman who had been disguised was also very good. This time was different. Qin Luo looked at the people who came, and laughed unkindly. No way, this time it was a male who came to harass Olivia, although he looked a little more feminine. Qin Luo thought that all the monsters in the pirate world thought of Ivan, a spicy-eyed creature with long legs and beards, wearing stockings and lipstick. This time Qin Luo finally saw something fresh. At least the eyes don't have to be blinded a few more times. Anyway, there's a gay guy trying to pull his wife's pants. I'm sorry, I'm just this gentleman's servant. You should have asked my master to agree with me before answering you. Olivia said so. In the corner where outsiders can't see, the dragon claw hand of the female city is frantically twisting the meat on Qin Luo's waist. Who received the order, naturally would not let the man in front of him molest his wife again, not to mention that this man was gay. But without waiting for Qin Luo to speak, the feminine man took the lead. You fat dead pig is the master of this handsome man. Be wise, hand over your servant if you don't want to die. You are not qualified to have such a beautiful thing. It's so exciting. The feminine man raised his voice a lot in order to boost his morale this time. Not only Qin Luo and Olivia, but many people around him heard it. Everyone opened their mouths. He, Qin Luo, was threatened because of jealousy. The other party is a man, but the target is Olivia, who has disguised himself as a man. It seems that something is not quite right in the middle. The news spread all over the banquet like the wind. Qin Luo once again became one of the protagonists of the banquet, and was surrounded by the melon eaters in a way he absolutely did not want. I don't accept threats. You are a monster. Qin Luo was very upset. Being watched because of such an embarrassing thing was as disgusting as eating flies. You dare to reject me. You know who I am. Those who reject me are dead. The feminine man's voice became more and more sharp. Saying that, he grabbed Qin Luo with a claw. The fingernails on the hands were long, sharp and glowing green, apparently poisoned. Qin Luo used to see a person who would kill someone who would kill him if he didn't say a word. It's not good to change the identity this time to kill at the banquet. just slap it away. Eldest sister, second sister. After being slapped away at will, the feminine man who knew he was defeated shouted loudly. Two strong winds blew up and aimed at the back of Chin Luo's head and his heart respectively. At the same time, the feminine man grabbed towards Olivia. How dare you, court death. Chapter 443 Flesh and Philosophy. Seeing that the feminine man couldn't ask for Olivia, he even planned to grab it. Chin Luo ignored the two attacks coming from behind. Even if he can't reveal other abilities, Chin Luo's physical body is enough to handle everything. Under the fat and bloated appearance, the strength of the full-level physical body is ready. No matter how powerful the two attacks behind him are, they cannot cause harm to Chin Luo. This is more than that, it is the so-called coming and going without being indecent. For the two sneak attackers, Chin Luo planned to give them some special gifts in return. There is a trick Chin Luo rarely uses in front of people. This move is the physical body's full-level damage rebound and transfer ability. At the beginning, when he just obtained the full level of the physical body, Chin Luo also looked at the full level of the physical body because of this damage rebound and transfer ability. However, in subsequent battles, this trick was rarely used, or even never used. On the contrary, the ability of physical transformation and invincible defense is used more frequently. Why is this so? Chin Luo thought about it. Maybe it was just because he was too invincible. With so many ways to kill enemies in seconds, Chin Luo doesn't need to use the passive ability of rebound. One punch and one kick hit Chin Luo. The back of the head and the heart were hit directly, without avoiding it. But the attackers didn't have the joy of hitting the key points. Their attacks were like hitting cotton. Chin Luo, who looks like a fat man, has fat on the back of his head and back. The thick layer of fat sank in with the attack, and the powerful force spread out with the fat, and Chin Luo received no damage at all. After a stalemate for about a second, the trapped fat layer bounced off the attacker's hands and feet like a compressed spring. The two sneak attackers who were turned into eldest and second sisters by the feminine man only felt that a huge force approaching the previous attack came from the fat man. This is still Chin Luo's mercy, only rebounding about 80% of the attacking power. Chin Luo didn't want to be too dazzling at the banquet, and now it has caused a lot of commotion. If they show their crushing strength again, he and Olivia will only attract more attention. You must know that Olivia is just disguised now, and I am sure that it will be revealed under the continuous attention of many interested people. This is what Chin Luo doesn't want to see. However, the two attackers and the feminine man not only pretended to be crazy in front of Chin Luo, but also robbed and attacked. Chin Luo just wants to say that the three of you are already on his must-kill list, and there is not much time left for them. Because he ignored the sneak attacker, Chin Luo simply stopped the feminine man who shot Olivia. When the feminine man's claws were about to touch Olivia's shoulder, Chin Luo's big fist was already waiting there. The feminine man has no doubt that if he continues to move forward, the punch will definitely break his hand. The feminine man retreated to escape, but this person alone, Chin Luo did not intend to let go tonight. At least some interest had to be paid first. Chin Luo turned his fist into a claw and grabbed the feminine man's right arm. Then the fat man Chin Luo sprinted, like a wild boar, bumping into the feminine man. Immediately afterwards, Chin Luo jumped up, flicked his stomach, and threw the fat like a swimming ring onto the feminine man's face. Chin Luo's belly batter was also used by him on a temporary basis. Chin Luo, who has a full-bodied body, directly used the transformed belly as an arm, which smeared the face of the feminine man. I don't know how many times this belly pounding, and the legendary butt-back flat sand-falling geese style can be opened. Chin Luo's move also stunned the people from other forces at the banquet. Not because of great power. Instead, they attacked with the fat on their stomachs. It was the first time they had seen each other in their lives, and they belong to the Long Live series. I think after tonight, the story at the banquet will be widely circulated. The feminine man who was slapped into the air by his belly was caught by two people before he landed. It turned out that the two attackers who had been ejected before had already stood up and came to support and rescue the feminine man. However, they obviously underestimated the power of belly pounding, and the two who just got up were loaded into the banquet table again because they caught the feminine man. I am a fair person. I just cut off the claw that attacked it, and I won't hurt anywhere else. Fatty Chin Luo walked towards the three people who fell into a ball with a grin. The flesh on Chin Luo's face was crowded into a few balls, looking particularly terrifying. This is a very vengeful fat man. Friend, give me a face, don't do it at the banquet. The opening is to give me a face, you think you are the red-haired Shanks. At this time, the face fruit ability person is probably still gathering partners on East Blue. Fatty Chin Luo rolled his eyes, and it was not the Red Earl, but Torapal. I don't know when, the Red Earl and Torapal also returned to the banquet, but they did not see King Nora's. Thinking about it too, with the arrogance of the Red Earl, he would not care about these things at all. At this time, the Red Earl was standing in a corner of the banquet, shaking the red wine in his hand and thinking quietly about who Fatty Chin Luo was. He didn't even have the slightest impression of this special attack method. 0. Which green onion are you? But don't worry, I won't kill people at the banquet, but I want to teach these gays some courtesy and shame. Chin Luo's flesh trembled as he spoke. Torapal was annoyed by Chin Luo, but considering the current situation and the strength of Fatty Chin Luo, he did not dare to do anything. After hearing that Chin Luo would not kill anyone, he stepped aside and prepared to watch the fun. Want to kill me? Hee hee, eldest sister, second sister, let's go together and skin him. The three gay men who were thrown by Chin Luo stood up. Only at this time did Chin Luo have a chance to see if he dared to attack him. What kind of innate talent is it? Could it be that the whole body is full of courage? It is also known that now, everyone has reacted, and the people who were called eldest sister and second sister by the feminine man turned out to be two muscular men. Miss. Muscular man. Everyone knew that they did not hear it wrong, and there was no hallucination. In front of them are two brothers. No matter who you are, since you hurt our little sister, you must be punished. One of the two brothers said in an extremely strong voice, and looked at the feminine man with doting eyes. For such a philosophical scene, everyone at the banquet lost their appetite. Chin Luo sneered in his heart, and he always disdained to reply to this kind of remarks that, the banana is late. By the way, Chin Luo believed in Billy the Great Demon King. Chapter 444 In the Name of Porcupine. Chin Luo's sneer obviously further angered the two brothers. In their two brain supplements, Chin Luo looked down on their philosophy. Well, has it turned into a battle of ideas? Looking at the two brothers who rushed up as if they had murdered their father, Chin Luo had a black question mark on his face. Shouldn't it be him Chin Luo who should be angry? So after that, it became two brothers and a feminine man beating up fat Chin Luo together. It was the collision between the bodies, the contest between the muscles and the fat, and the sound of the punches hitting the flesh. UFC is not as real as this. Chin Luo's intentional rebound damage is controlled at 80%, so it won't appear that this ability is too exaggerated. So there was such a strange scene in the scene. The three who attacked Fatty Chin Luo took turns to shoot, and every time they were ejected immediately, Chin Luo, who was beaten, remained motionless as if nothing was happening. Even stupid people can see the key after watching it for so long. Fatty Chin Luo was able to bounce back most of the damage he received, and the lump was not fat at all, but barbs. All of them couldn't help but think of a spiny animal, the porcupine. Knocked down by the rebound damage again and again, the suit shirts on the two brothers turned into rags, and finally they were naked. With shouts and heavy breathing, the scene is out of control, and the philosophy is reappearing. Chin Luo had a headache. He planned to knock down the three gay brothers directly. Olivia, who was beside him, looked at him more and more strangely. Excited in regret, Olivia was awakening to something terrible. Chin Luo stretched out his two hands and accurately grasped the fists his two brothers were hitting at him. In their surprised expressions, a huge force came from Chin Luo's hand. The bodies of the two brothers were dragged and thrown up by Chin Luo's strength. Then Chin Luo put his hands together, and the two brothers, who were pulled by Qin Luo, collided face to face with the momentum of a spark hitting the earth. Together with the feminine man who was sandwiched between the two brothers, the three of them fainted directly to the ground. "Your Majesty shouldn't mind if I clean up a few trash cans?" Qin Luo asked the official who was in charge of the banquet after knocking out the three gay men. Qin Luo's casual appearance of clapping his hands and arranging his clothes was a bit scary in the eyes of the official. The official was frightened and quickly apologized and said that Qin Luo had encountered an unpleasant thing. At the same time, he also asked people to quickly remove the three fainted gays, and quickly rearrange the banquet venue. In the corner, the Red Earl called a palace guard. He took out a token and said, "Your Majesty's token, you go to check the details of this person, and send me all the information related to him recently." The Red Earl pointed with the token, and the target was Qin Luo. After that, until the end of the banquet, no one dared to provoke Qin Luo. The three gays who were stunned by Qin Luo never appeared again. When the banquet was over, sitting on the carriage leaving the palace, Qin Luo said to Olivia, "I'll go out and deal with things." What to do, of course, is the life of the three brothers and sisters. These three people successfully caused Qin Luo's anger, and they have been on his must-kill list for long enough, so they are sent to see Banana Jun. Knowing that many people nearby were watching him secretly, Qin Luo did not use teleportation. Instead, he turned into a nimble fat man, and caught up with the three people's carriage in a few ups and downs. "If you want to blame, you will blame yourself. I said that whichever claw moves will leave the hand. Since I don't know the initiative, I have to take it myself." Qin Luo whispered and pronounced the sentence for the three people in the carriage. "Death penalty." Fatty Qin Luo jumped high from the ground and came over the carriage where the three were. Qin Luo secretly exerted gravity on himself, and smashed the carriage with the momentum of Mount Tai pressing the top. With a loud bang, the carriage was torn apart, and a large pit was smashed into the road. After the smoke cleared away, the body fragments of the three brothers and nobles could still be seen vaguely, but the fat man Qin Luo had long since disappeared. It's so terrifying that Mount Tai is on the top. The people who were staring at Qin Luo secretly were amazed. Qin Luo actually intentionally led these spies to think so, but when he heard it, it was still very uncomfortable, and he had the urge to hit people. The next day, Fatty Qin Luo's name, Porcupine, was spread like a legend throughout Chitose City. It is also rumored that several forces were besieged and killed after they left the palace. Very cleverly, the news of Qin Luo's conflict with the three gay men and the news of the three gay men being attacked and killed is also mixed with many news. Someone wants to mess up the situation and is using you to attract firepower. Olivia looked at her hands. The content of several sections in this morning's newspaper was related to what happened last night. Some of the depictions are as detailed as seen on the scene. Isn't it? It doesn't matter. I want to see how they can play this chess. Since leaving the palace last night, Qin Luo found that there were many times more little bugs around him. Is this what it feels like to be a popular star being followed and photographed by the paparazzi? Qin Luo didn't intend to kill these little bugs, it was useless to kill them, and a new batch would come. Qin Luo will let those who calculate him know that in the face of the absolute strength gap, all plans will turn into jokes. In the days that followed, Fat Qin Luo seemed to be sheltering from the limelight, living in a secluded place. In fact, Qin Luo accompanied Olivia to explore some ruins and addresses related to the Jade Talisman. Not to mention, there is Olivia at the top of the school, and a lot of information from thousands of years ago has been excavated. There are two places to get the biggest harvest. One is the north of Chitose Castle, another island owned by the Kingdom of Noraz. This was the base camp where the Yufu family was kept. Qin Luo and Olivia found the family's tomb in a cave on the island. The terrain there is extremely dangerous and hidden, and it is full of organs, and has not been cared for by tomb robbers. Here in 3.5, they found the sacrificial text and family history of that family, the kind described in the common text thousands of years ago. Another place is a villa in Chitose Castle. The land in Chitose City is very tight. Because of the prosperous trade in the port, it is still crowded with people. Few villas have large yards. Apart from the imperial palace, Qinluo has only seen such a person in Chitose City recently. Speaking of origins, this villa was originally the property of that family. That was the heyday of the family. But now, this villa has become the residence of a relative of a real power royal family, and the level of security is no worse than that of the palace. It is no wonder that Olivia did not dare to come in to check it before. In a corner of the study, Olivia found a lot of books about the history of 1,000 years ago. Chapter 445 gradually revealed history. The books of the previous family were preserved thanks to their quaint style and exquisite appearance. These books are placed in the corners by the current owner, and they exist more as antiques and decorations. And those manuscripts have long since been thrown away. In order to keep these precious data pearls from dust, in order to save the buried history, in order to find hope for the future, Qinluo and Olivia packed up all these books and took them away. What, do you have a problem? Steal? How can the affairs of scholars be considered stealing? The rest of the sites provided information in bits and pieces. However, most of them have become the dust of history in the erosion of time. After exploring all the ruins and associated locations, Olivia plunged headlong into the search for clues in books. During this time, in order to facilitate Olivia's research, Qinluo and her basically stayed in the hotel and didn't go out much. Qinluo took the time to go back to Dragon Palace once or twice, and met Momoshiki and 19 Tsunade. The nearest mermaid island is not very peaceful. Big Mom's pirate group has arrived near Mermaid Island. This time, the 4 deserts are here, and they are more cautious than before. The people of the Big Mom pirates unite with a circle of pirates in the surrounding New World, and there is a faint tendency to surround Fishman Island. Small frictions between these pirates and the Fishman clan have continued to appear. If it wasn't for Itachi, Haiden, Kuo, Tsunade, and Momoshiki, the Big Mom pirates would have attacked directly. Because the responsibility for guarding Mermaid Island had been handed over to Tsunade and Itachi before, Qinluo did not ask more about Mermaid Island out of absolute trust. However, Qinluo reckons that this situation will probably not be delayed for long. The latest is the day Marine publicly executes Lu Yun's body. Procrastinate as long as you can, that's what Qinluo told Tsunade. Qinluo didn't stay too long after that. After all, Olivia was still in Chitose City, and many forces in the entire Chitose City were frantically searching for her. As for why Olivia refused to go to Mermaid Island or O'Hara to conduct research, Qinluo attributed this to the uneasy feeling of seeing the big house, and the more timid feeling of being close to the nostalgia. This caused Qinluo to have to take care of both ends, and had to appear from time to time as a fat man on Chitose Island, pretending to be searching for Olivia too. Why, is there anything to gain? Qinluo put a cup of coffee on Olivia's table. He got news that probably tomorrow and the day after, the Undead Fleet and the Marine Fleet would arrive at Chitose City one after another. If nothing has been researched at this time, even if the research results come out at that time, it will be of little significance. Holding the coffee in her hand, Olivia took a sip. It's basically been translated, and the useful information is almost sorted. When she said this, Olivia looked at Qinluo with a smug face, her mouth and eyes curled with a smile. From the look on his face, he was clearly an arrogant little wildcat. Deliberately hiding it and not saying it, just wanted Qinluo to beg her to ask her. Oh, talk about it. Qinluo knew that it was the Undead Fleet that he had awakened, but he really knew nothing about the origin and history of the Undead Fleet. As if it was to satisfy his own curiosity and Olivia's vanity. The information obtained from the research is only a few aspects, and it is not a complete history of 1,000 years ago. According to the contents of the sacrificial texts and books, there was an evil god sect that was rampant in the world thousands of years ago. In the end, this sect went up and down, from the evil gods to the believers. All of them were united and sealed by some forces in the world. The family that Olivia was searching for was once one of the 4 major families responsible for guarding the seal. Families like this have one each in East Blue, North Blue, and South Blue, guarding the 4 fleets under the seal of the cultist sect at that time. However, time has changed, and the once powerful and prosperous caretaker family has now been fragmented or broken. That's all, there's nothing to do with the upcoming undead fleet. Through Olivia's introduction, Chin Luo had a preliminary understanding of the undead fleet. But these words alone can't talk about solving the undead fleet. 2 words, most of the information we have obtained is concentrated in 2 words. The Devil's Tomb and the Seal Rune. Olivia stretched out 2 fingers to Chin Luo, and said with a nod. The Seal Rune is the jade rune we got from the palace, and every family has one. The rune is endowed with powerful divine energy, which can purify evil creatures and is also a key part of the seal. 4 the runes seal the 4 fleets of the evil god sect separately, and when combined together, they can be turned into a complete seal plate, which can be used for the seal of the evil god located somewhere in this world. Quote. According to what you said, the seal rune can be unsealed. In that case, why didn't the person who sealed it destroy or hide the seal rune, so as not to be unsealed by others? Chin Luo was speechless. He had seen this kind of plot often in previous games. The hero sealed the demon, but he had to leave the key to unlock the seal, just to make the next game better. Didn't expect Pirate World to also play this set. Death is not too big of a deal. It's for resealing. If it's just a seal, the power of the seal will continue to weaken with the passage of time. Every once in a while, it must be resealed with the power of the seal 270 rune. But the sect that presides over this resealing ceremony is organized. It should have disappeared long ago, otherwise the Guardian family would not have perished like this. Olivia couldn't help but feel a little down when she said it, perhaps thinking of O'Hara. The once and now important historical and archaeological Holy Land has also reached the time of extinction and history. Unlike Olivia, Chin Luo breathed a sigh of relief when he heard that the seal would gradually weaken over time. This means that even if he does not wake up the undead fleet will come out by itself from the seal. He just brought the time forward. Let's talk about the Devil's Tomb. Seeing that Olivia was in a bad mood, Chin Luo quickly changed the subject. Olivia smiled to adjust her mood and continued to explain. The Devil's Tomb, the seal location of a fleet under the evil god sect, is also the seal location of the Guardian family guard of West Blue. Somewhere in the sea between Chateau's castle and O'Hara is an undersea cave that only emerges from the sea when the moon is full every month. When the cave is exposed to the sea breeze blowing into the cave will make a sound like a devil's wailing, which is called the Devil's Tomb. If nothing else, the purpose of this undead fleet coming to West Blue is this Devil's Tomb. Chapter 446 Inescapable Fate. The undead fleet is coming to the Demon Tomb to unlock the seal and release another fleet that was sealed. Chin Luo got this information clearly from Olivia's words. Chin Luo had seen the troubles and strange abilities of the undead fleet before. After all, he awakened it himself. If the number of this fleet is doubled, before an effective solution is found, the undead fleet will definitely become a disaster for the entire world. Chin Luo didn't intend to be the savior, but in front of so many lives, he couldn't be indifferent. Then what are we going to do now, to find the Demon Tomb and seal it again? Before the undead fleet arrives. The incident of the undead fleet was caused by Chin Luo's own unforeseen circumstances. The pirate world he saw in his last life had nothing about this at all. Any information. In this case, Chin Luo can only count on Olivia. We really want to find that Demon Tomb, but we can't seal it again. The materials in my hand don't have any information about the sealing ceremony. Olivia took out a piece of paper and wrote it on it. Then what should I do? Olivia's behavior made Chin Luo a little confused. Tell this to Marine and the world government. It just so happens that the Marine's fleet is about to reach Chateau's castle. These Marines who claim to be righteous should not ignore the disaster, and the world government should have more detailed information. Thousands of years ago, they may be able to find the correct sealing ceremony. Quote. Olivia didn't say something. She actually didn't trust Marine very much. She didn't intend to hand over all the seal runes in her hands. But it is impossible to complete the seal without the seal rune. Olivia wanted Marine to find the seal rune and the seal ritual corresponding to the undead fleet that had already escaped. For Marine and the world government, which had been established 800 years ago, it shouldn't be difficult to do as long as she mobilizes the power at her hand. It's better than running around like a headless fly herself. Qin Luo nodded and agreed, this kind of thing to save the world government has no chance to run. But there are some things Qin Luo hesitates to tell Olivia. In the past few days, it has been rumored all over the world that O'Hara released the demon. I think the world government and Marine are planning to put this shitpot on O'Hara's head. After hesitating for a while in his heart, Qin Luo gave up. Marine and the world government were so determined to destroy O'Hara, saying it only made Olivia more uncomfortable. Isn't there, Qin Luo? Even if it is not easy to save the entire O'Hara, it is still easy to save most of the people and books. Qin Luo was more inclined to this point in his heart. According to the inertia of history, O'Hara's destruction was inevitable. Even if he could save it once, he might not be able to save it a second time. On the night the Marine fleet arrived at Chitose City, the letter written by Olivia was silently placed on Sengoku's desk by Qin Luo. I don't know why, Qin Luo is more willing to believe in Sengoku's character than Marine Marshal Kong, who is also in the fleet. In the letter, Olivia told the origin and harm of this undead fleet, the seal of the rune and the demon tomb. By the way, Olivia also depicts the horror of the evil gods, as if the end of the world is coming. In fact, Olivia is not too exaggerated. Once the undead monsters that were sealed thousands of years ago are released, there is really nothing in this world that can stop them. The most ideal ending in Olivia's mind is that Marine and the world government start to mobilize all forces to begin to deal with this undead disaster, slow down the siege of O'Hara, and give O'Hara some breathing opportunities. However, Olivia completely underestimated the determination of the world government and Marine to destroy O'Hara. After much discussion between Sengoku, Kong and the Gorosei, 5 elders, most of the Marine fleet in Chitose Castle stayed to meet the undead fleet. Still, 20 warships left for O'Hara that night. These 20 warships will block the entire O'Hara. Even if they are not sure to eliminate them all, they will stop all the people on O'Hara who want to leave. It was also on this night that Qin Luo brought Olivia to the demon tomb he found. Qin Luo was also taken aback when he found the demon tomb. Too close, the Devil's Tomb is too close to O'Hara, probably only a few kilometers away. On the sea of the Devil's Tomb, Qin Luo could see the Tree of Omniscience and the little sparks of fire on O'Hara. Once the seal of the undead fleet in the demon crypt is broken, or Marine and the undead fleet go to war here, O'Hara will be pulled into the quagmire of destruction. Open. Qin Luo with Olivia directly used the full-level Overlord of the Sea ability to remove the seawater from the Devil's Tomb. The sea surface under the moonlight sank out of thin air, as if a piece had been dug out, revealing the Devil's Tomb. The seawater on the edge of the demon tomb seemed to be restrained by a cylindrical invisible barrier, and no matter how turbulent it was, it could not flow in. Olivia was amazed by these, which gave her a better understanding of Qin Luo's miraculous and powerful strength. Olivia's face, Qin Luo couldn't help but scratched her nose. Don't worship me so much, your husband is so interested in me, otherwise I'll be a little stressed if I'm called a god. Shameless, how can you brag like this? It's nothing special, I know that many people can do it. Olivia, whose nose was shaved, turned into a wild cat with fried fur, and broke free from Qin Luo's arms. Going out, the tone of defense is a little empty. Qin Luo didn't refute and took Olivia's hand, and walked into the Devil's Tomb with her. There is nothing in the Devil's Tomb. Huge underwater caves stretch all the way. Qin Luo and the two found the sealed altar. There is a sunken lattice on the altar, which is used to place the seal rune. The entire altar is both the seal point and the activation device for the divine power on the seal rune. The whole altar shone with a radiance, but it was a little dim now. Behind the altar is a port-like existence, but it is not a ship that stops there, but a wreck. The wreckage of a fleet and faint bones. This should be the undead fleet sealed here. Olivia looked at the undead fleet in a trance. The direction of this port is towards O'Hara, which means that once the undead are awakened, the fleet that breaks out of the ground will appear directly on the shore of O'Hara. Olivia has done a lot of things to stop Marine from encircling O'Hara, whether it's delaying Marine or providing clues. But O'Hara's fate was already doomed, and destruction was inevitable. Chapter 447 Shadow of the Bone. Originally, Olivia was going to communicate the location of the demon's tomb directly to Marine. How should I put it? The plan couldn't keep up with the changes, and the devil's tomb was so close to O'Hara, Olivia didn't want to gather all the Marines at this time. After exploring the entire demon tomb, Chinluo withdrew his bondage to the sea, and the sea quickly returned to its original state. Olivia was repulsed by Chinluo and floated in midair with him. In front of her eyes is O'Hara, who is close at hand. Olivia looked at the Tree of Omniscience at night, a little lost. Aren't you going to go back and have a look? Olivia has always shown that she is not in a hurry to return to O'Hara, but Chinluo knows that she is actually returning to her heart. The reason for not going back is a bit complicated. Before, there was no way. Now that Chinluo was by his side, Olivia wanted to help O'Hara out of bad luck as much as possible. But judging from the current situation, no matter what Olivia tries, O'Hara's fate cannot be changed. Time to face reality, Olivia. In the end, Chinluo didn't say this sentence. Some things still need Olivia to figure it out on her own, and others can't help. 313 With the arrival of the Marine fleet, an atmosphere of war is brewing in Chiteau's castle. Chinluo and Olivia, who had returned to Chiteau's city, could obviously feel the strangeness. The bustling streets became deserted, and a few pedestrians came and went in a hurry. Because of Olivia's relationship, the previous Chiteau's castle was basically only allowed in and not out. Many civilians and traders were forced to stay in Chiteau's city, otherwise the entire city would probably have run away almost by now. These poor people who couldn't live without Chiteau's city shut themselves in their rooms one by one, depending on the fragile wooden door that could give them a sense of security. Perhaps it was a premonition that one day the undead fleet would arrive at Chiteau's city, and the Nora's royal family sent an invitation letter to the representatives of many forces in Chiteau's city on the second night of the Marine fleet's arrival. Chinluo was also among the invited. This time Olivia didn't go together. After getting the seal rune, there was nothing in Nora's palace that could arouse her interest. Moreover, her disguise is not as simple and perfect as Chinluo's physical transformation ability, and it will still reveal flaws when too many people notice. Chinluo appeared in the Nora's palace again as a fat man, and everyone who saw him greeted him. This is not because these people are well-bred, but mainly because the reputation of the fat man Chinluo has been spread too much recently. Porcupine Bagalo, the new title of Fat Chinluo. By the way, Bagalo is the name that Chinluo declared to be a fat man. According to rumors, Porcupine Bagalo first killed the three brothers of the gay country in seconds, and then participated in the assassination of so-and-so. Anyway, everything that was missing was thrown on Chinluo's body. Chinluo doesn't think there are too many pots, one after another, without explanation at all. Seeing that Chinluo didn't respond, the other forces in the back threw the pot even more violently. Only Chinluo's body was shocked and shouted, "I am a man who wants to be a scapegoat." Now, Porcupine Bagalo is completely a devil-like existence in Chiteau's city, the kind that can stop children from crying at night. The upbringing of these people in the face of Chinluo was mostly out of fear. Chinluo, who looked like a fat man, came to the place where the banquet was held before. When he was at the door, Chinluo found something wrong. Chinluo took a sharp breath and sniffed carefully, the smell of kelp ribs. In the eyes of outsiders, Porcupine Bagalo sniffed at the door of the banquet and said the name of each dish. Combined with his porcupine nickname, it must be a hungry ghost. But is it really so? Kelp ribs is just a title, Chinluo's title to those undead. Chinluo, as the person who awakened these undead, smelled a strong kelp smell from these bones, so he always called them that. Chinluo originally thought that this banquet would be very boring, but he did not expect such an unexpected joy. The world thinks that these undead have no brains, that these undead will not reach Chito's city until tomorrow. But on the contrary, a few undead have sneaked into Chito's city, and appeared at this banquet, listening for information in full view. If this is considered a no-brainer, Chinluo just wants to cut off the heads of those who claim to be smart and play the ball. Chinluo found a place to sit down, looked up at everyone at the banquet, and muttered in his heart, "Interesting, let me see who the undead are pretending to be, and what your purpose is." Chinluo was like a bear boy who got a ticket to a new game, and he immediately picked up his interest. Sweep around with a white eye, no. Not to mention whether the undead with sufficient energy are different from normal people after disguising, and whether they can be seen by the naked eye. Chinluo didn't plan to use his eyes either. In Chinluo's view, this was a game, and he didn't even plan to pull out the undead. The undead can cause more trouble for Marine, and Chinluo is too happy to wake him up. The crowd has not yet arrived, and the banquet has not yet begun. Then this opportunity Chinluo kept turning around in the banquet venue. There is no need to sniff around like a dog. Chinluo found that the traces of the undead were not really relying on his nose, otherwise he was not the only one with a keen sense of smell, so he didn't notice anything strange. Chinluo relied on a feeling, perhaps the reason for enslaving these undead. Chinluo could feel these things faintly. "Ah, I'm sorry, sir." Chinluo, who was looking around, bumped into a waiter. The drink on the waiter's tray spilled onto the ground, while Chinluo stood as if nothing was wrong. "It's all right. Found it, the first one." Chinluo concealed the smile at the corner of his mouth by speaking. Just now, there was a feeling that there was something wrong with the waiter, so Chinluo deliberately touched the porcelain. It was his intention to bump into the waiter, just to confirm his identity and take the opportunity to leave a chakra mark on him. Chakra is a power that does not belong to this world. After being marked by chakra, it will be as striking as the sun in front of Chinluo's white eyes. The undead who pretended to be a waiter quickly left after an apology, and disappeared into the crowd within a few turns. When Chinluo tried to find it again, he couldn't even see a shadow. "Really cautious," Chinluo murmured in a low voice. However, no matter how cunning the prey is, it cannot escape the old hunter's routine. Don't care about this undead anymore. Chinluo's feeling is telling him that there is not only one undead in the banquet. Chapter 448 Block each other. The second undead discovered by Chinluo had a strange way of hiding. Chinluo was found in an armor decoration, and the undead was hidden inside the armor. If Chinluo hadn't walked through the armor, the smell of sea bottom ribs that came out of the armor made him feel salty both physically and mentally. Chinluo wouldn't be sure. The imagination and hiding power of these deaths cannot be underestimated. Knowing that when the banquet started, Chinluo found a total of 4 undead who pretended to be other people and infiltrated the banquet. Except for the waiter and the 2 hidden in the armor. There are also 2 undead. One is a representative of a certain force who was invited like Chinluo, and the other is the niece of King Norris XVI, who can be regarded as a princess for the time being. With the means of these undead, most of the people who were pretended to have lost their lives. Chinluo was a little sighed. How could the Norris royal family, who were afraid of being calamity, would have thought that members of the royal family were killed before the war started? The banquet still started with a speech by King Norris XVI, nothing more than words of thanks, promises and the like. The Red Earl was still following behind the king this time. Seeing that the wound on his hand was gone, he should have recovered. Torapal is active as a replica, frequently interspersed with many powers and kings. This banquet mainly invited other forces in Chito's castle except Marine. Most of them were pirates, bounty hunters or subordinates of certain forces. Marine only came to represent a Zephyr. Maybe it's because Zephyr has the best temper and won't get angry on the spot because there are so many pirates present. And Chinluo entered the buffet mode after finding all the undead and silently stamping the chakra mark. It's time to eat, drink, and ignore King Norris XVI. This situation is quite close to his current image. But there are some things that you can't hide from pretending to be confused, such as someone who is courting death. Porcupine Bagalo. A voice sounded from behind Chin Luo. Chin Luo was forced to stop destroying the big lobster in his hand. Red Earl, what's the matter? If you don't have it, please don't disturb me for dinner. It's impossible to pretend that you don't know each other. After the propaganda of the people with heart, the famous name of Red Earl is now even known to the children in Chitose City. Earl Red didn't come to Chin Luo temporarily. At the last banquet, he found that Chin Luo was not simple, and his strength and background were a mystery. But the feedback from the people he sent out to investigate Chin Luo was too normal, just like other forces occasionally looking for Olivia without causing trouble. But this normal is the biggest abnormal. Such a person with terrifying strength and unknown background came to Chitose City, and he could know what he was thinking without guessing. But Chin Luo's performance is somewhat ordinary, even a little lazy and calm. Even after being madly dumped, he didn't show any signs of anger or explanation. Swears by his decades of experience that this, Porcupine Bagalo, is so abnormal. That's why the Red Earl took the initiative to meet tonight. I don't know why you came to Chitose City. The Red Earl decided to try it out. Of course it's to catch Nicole Olivia and ask about the whereabouts of the ancient weapons. Who doesn't think so here, and needs to ask? Chin Luo's voice was not small, and everyone around looked over. A little embarrassed on his face. Brother, although everyone thinks this way, don't be so direct. The representative of Marine is also here. This is the voice of the representatives of many forces at the banquet. But as far as I know, you didn't pay much attention to Olivia. The Red Earl, who had always been lonely, couldn't stand Chin Luo's tone, and when he spoke again, he took on a tone of scrutiny of the prisoner. But that's true. Chin Luo was like a routine except for a wave of hacks in the casino at the beginning. I said that you have no problem with your mind. I need you to worry about how to find someone. Whoever is so stupid will do the job of finding someone. After someone finds Olivia, it's okay to take it away. Chin Luo while nibbling on the big lobster, he gave Earl Red a look of caring for the mentally retarded. Following Chin Luo's words, not only the Red Earl, but other forces on the side almost fell to the ground. After a wave of AoEs came down, most of the forces in the banquet became stupid in Chin Luo's mouth. The Red Earl is forbearing, desperately forbearing, as lonely as he is today, but his IQ is despised by a pig. The Red Earl repeatedly told himself that he couldn't do it at the banquet. Haha, Porcupine Bagalo really has the strength to speak like that, and I don't want to fight against your excellency. The Red Earl smiled reluctantly. But after what he said, many forces present paid more attention to Chin Luo. Even the Red Earl admitted the strength, at least admiral level, and even Zephyr glanced at Chin Luo. Well, this Red Earl came here specifically to block Chin Luo. Now Chin Luo has become a focal point in the eyes of many forces approaching the Red Earl. Many things are inconvenient to be shot, and he is stared at by too many eyes. For Chin Luo, it was enough to be dealt with by the Red Earl. It doesn't exist. Some hatreds do not exist overnight in Chin Luo's place, they are all revenge in the world. 0. Until the end of the banquet, Chin Luo found several undead who were in a secret meeting through the chakra mark. Have you found the seal rune? It was the undead disguised as a princess who spoke. No, I searched around the palace and couldn't find it. You are sure that you are in the palace? Feel for it again, the waiter in charge of the search said. No, I can't sense it now. The aura of the rune is blocked by something. But a few days ago, I sensed a very strong sacred wave appearing in the palace. I can't be wrong. Unexpectedly, the undead dressed as a princess can also sense the rune. Chin Luo hid by the side and listened to the conversation between the undead, recalling the events of the past few days. The strong fluctuations should have happened when the Red Earl was injured by the seal rune. Isolated, unable to sense, could it be that wooden box? Chin Luo flipped his hand over, and Chin Luo took the wooden box and the rune hidden in it. Chin Luo has been observing the reaction of the undead, and there is no movement at all. It seems that this wooden box does have the effect of isolating the breath. Next, the undead exchanged some information about the military, and was taken out by the undead who pretended to be the spokesperson of the forces. Qin Luo was not interested in listening to this piece of content. At this time, Qin Luo had come to a certain room in the palace and took out the rune from the wooden box. "Hey, Red Earl, you'd better play with the undead first." Chapter 449 Siege Battle started. In the Red Earl's room, Qin Luo took the rune out of the wooden box for a few seconds. Even just a few seconds is enough. For these undead, the sacred energy on the seal rune is the same as the corpse odor to ordinary people, and they can feel the greasy aura from far away. Whether it was the Red Earl or the undead who sneaked into the palace, they were all attracted by this sudden divine aura. The Red Earl entered his room first, looking for the reason for the sudden appearance of the divine aura. The undead who came a step later happened to see the mysterious back of the Red Earl. There is no need for any explanation at this time, brain supplement is enough. The undead who sneaked into the palace naturally thought that the seal rune had fallen into the hands of the Red Earl. A piece of information was sent out of the palace by the undead overnight, and handed over to Aedu in a special way. "I found the seal talisman, Your Highness Aedu." Esser Shali, the two lieutenants under Aedu, said with a smile while holding information in his hand. "Very good, the people who sent it finally got something. Have you got the rune?" Under the hazy moonlight, a crisp male voice sounded on the sea where the waves were bursting. The owner of the voice leaked half of his face from the shadow of the ship's main pole. At this time, Aid can no longer see the shadow of Marine who was taken away. Maybe this is what Aedu really looks like. This is a face full of extravagance, star eyebrows and sword eyes, yet gentle, giving a gentleman's elegance. During this period of hunting, Ae gained enough flesh and blood to not only repair the damage on his body, but also reshape the appearance of his life. Eyes, especially eyes. When Aedu just took the house, there was a deep darkness in the eye sockets, and now a pair of gray pupils filled the void. Both Aedu and Esser Shali looked much better than before. If it weren't for the pale skin that didn't look like a living person, it would really be no different from a living person. Our people have not yet obtained the rune, and the rune is in the hands of a man named Red Earl. This man is quite famous in this era and is one of the strongest beings in that city. A few in the city, it's hard to get the rune from him. Sai Shali said and handed over the information in his hand to Aedu. There are two pieces of information in total, one is the defense information of Chitose City that I have heard, and the other is about the rune, and there is a wanted order for the Red Earl. So, this is still a letter for help. A stared at the Red Earl in the wanted list, as if he wanted to engrave it in his mind. "I think so." Esser Shali also looked at the Red Earl's wanted notice with great interest, and his eyes were full of greed. "Are you interested in this person?" "That's right, the powerhouses of this era are not stinky fish and shrimps, and the people below will not be able to deal with it. When the fleet sieges the city tomorrow, it is inseparable from the command of Gu Mu. You will personally go for a walk. When the war starts tomorrow, I'll keep an eye on the Red Earl, and I won't let him go back unscathed." "That's the best." Esser Shali, who received the order of Aedu, let out a gloomy laugh, and the cracked mouth contained serrated steel teeth. Esser Shali jumped off the boat, and in the air, a monster in the shape of a shark bone dragged her and galloped away in the direction of Chitose Castle. This shark bone is simply a speedboat in the market outlook. I think the undead rely on this thing to quickly transmit information. When the sky was still bright, the alarm of Chitose City sounded, which meant that the undead fleet had reached the coastline of Chitose City. Qin Luo brought Olivia to the top of the clouds, and this perspective allowed them to see the battle more clearly. The dense fleet of undead spread out to the southwest of Chitose Castle, forming a triangular offensive formation. At the head was the strongest ship in the undead fleet, the 9 magically modified marine warships. During this period of time, the undead fleet's record was outstanding. While destroying the city and gaining a lot of flesh and blood, the ships under its command were also changed over and over again. Those tattered ships, not a single one of them can be seen now, replaced by new-style merchant ships and pirate ships. The units on the undead fleet are no longer skeletons. Although they are still skinny, they are far more difficult to deal with than when they were naked. No one on the two sides came out to talk, and the living and the dead were the most natural opposition. Between life and death, there is no compromise or negotiation, only a war that is doomed to the death of one side. The brilliance of the sun as it leapt completely above sea level sounded the horn of war. The realm of death. Aedu's biggest reliance was used at the beginning of the war. With enough energy reserves, Aedu will no longer have to worry about the consumption of the death domain this time. It is no longer the domain of the castrated version of before. This time, Aedu's death field not only has a larger scope, but also covers half of the battlefield, and the restrictions on devil fruits are also stronger. As for Marine, because he had already played against Ae before, he was somewhat prepared. For the first time, the devil fruit ability users in Château's city saw this ability, and they all panicked. Not only could he not be able to release his abilities, but he was also entangled in something, making him a waste. The war has just begun, and the defending side has lost a part of its important combat power, which is not good news for the people in Château's city. The war directly entered the stage of shelling and attacking fortifications. Although the undead fleet has a lot of ships, it is completely suppressed by the defenders in terms of firepower. Marine fleet of more than 150 ships, plus the Château's castle wall artillery armed to the teeth. Every salvo caused the sea to shake. Cold cannonballs and fiery sparks bloomed in the undead fleet. The soaring water 2.2, together with the blown wood slag, flew in the air with various stumps and broken arms. If this is a war between two human nations, everyone would dare to pat their chests and say that the attackers are finished. It is a pity that there is no if. The attacker is not a human, but an undead. Even with broken hands and feet, the boat leaks. The undead fleet was still orderly and kept its formation to attack Château's castle. Soon, one by one climbed out of the sea and appeared in the port or shore of Château's city, although none of these undead were intact. Afterwards, some of the more brisk merchant ships in the undead fleet also successfully rushed to the shore of Château's city under the fire of the sky. The port of Château's castle was gradually engulfed by a tide called undead. Fear, in the eyes of the undead, they leave the fear to the human side. Chapter 450 Defeat in Victory. In the face of these undead monsters, the first to be frightened were the militiamen of Nora's kingdom. Most of these militiamen were ordinary people who were temporarily recruited by the Nora's kingdom. They had not received any training at all, and the task given to them was only to carry materials. But I have to say it was a stupid decision. Putting an ordinary person without military training into battle is murder. But if you let a group of ordinary people without military training go to the battlefield, this kind of behavior is called courting death. Morale is a contagious thing. And as the militias are overwhelmed by fear, the morale of the troops on the walls of Château's castle is slipping at a rate visible to the naked eye. All the soldiers were cast in the shadow of their inability to defeat these undead monsters. At this time, as long as the soldiers on the city wall suffered large-scale casualties, the entire Château's city defense line would collapse in an instant. Aedu and Gumu, who had been staring at the battle, obviously sensed this opportunity. They, who had been hiding in Fleet 19, took action, along with a group of captains under them. Now Aedu and Gumu have basically recovered to the strength level of Admiral's peak. If they want to make a breakthrough, they must change to a better body. Their captain is the captain of each ship, ranging from lieutenant commander to rear admiral. The sudden attack of the main force of the undead did not achieve any good results, and the senior marines, the Red Earl and others were also watching. With the emergence of Aedu, someone quickly intercepted it. Aedu and Gumu each faced Marine Marshal Kong and Garp, and other undead were also dealt with by Marine or some famous pirates and bounty hunters. These people basically got the promise from King Nora's, and they were short-handed. In the absence of danger to their lives, these people are still happy to fight the undead. As for the three little powerhouses in Marine, their devil fruit ability was greatly limited, and their output ability was seriously insufficient. In order to prevent them from being hacked by some people, Kuzan, Kazaru and Akainu were all ordered to stay on the Marine fleet to defend. In the case of Sengoku, this time it is estimated that he will be the best speaker again. The job of raising morale is extremely difficult for others, but it is really not a problem for Sengoku, a high IQ talker. From the scene, the high-end combat power of the defending side is also completely crushing the attacking undead fleet, and victory depends on being caught by surprise. If things go on like this, the success of the defense of Chitose City is not a problem, everyone in the city will be saved. Olivia, who was brought above the clouds by Chin Luo, saw the entire battlefield clearly. The advantages of Nora's kingdom and Marine are basically everywhere, and there is a hint of happiness in the words. No, this war must have been lost by Nora's kingdom. Chin Luo glanced at the battle situation and responded to Olivia with a helpless answer. How can it be? Olivia didn't speak, but looked at him with disbelief in her eyes. If you want to win this war, you can. The Marine fleet must cooperate fully and there may be hope. But from the very beginning, Marine didn't plan to win. Look at the layout of the Marine fleet. No one knows Marine better than Chin Luo. The thoughts of the higher-ups are gone. Uphold justice, ridiculous slogan. Only ignorant ordinary people and desperate people would believe in Marine's integrity and commitment. Marine's nearly 200 warships did not dock in the Marine base in Chitose Castle, and appeared on the flank of the undead fleet in a crowded and weird way. This formation is not so much that Marine is helping Chitose Castle to defend, but rather that Marine is using Chitose Castle as bait to destroy the living force of the undead fleet. No, all the attacks of the undead fleet were placed on Chitose Castle, and the Marine fleet had no other losses except artillery shells. Marine didn't even participate in the defense of Chitose Castle's walls, and the high-end combat power that went out was the kind that could instantly leave the battlefield and return to the Marine fleet. Marine completely put on a stance that something was wrong and immediately ran away. Marine won't fight these undead monsters until he finds a way to completely wipe out these undead fleets. Countless innocent lives in Chitose Castle are dying, so how could the Gorosei 5 elders care about that? At that time, public opinion will be controlled, and history will not be rewritten at will by the victors. Don't count on the representatives of the forces in Chitose City. Once there is danger, these villains will only run faster than Marine, especially the Red Earl. Chin Luo showed a disdainful smile at the corner of his mouth. King Noras XVI would actually believe in the Red Earl, the king of the subjugated country, he was determined. Also, when everyone regarded the undead as mindless fools, the undead fleet had already obtained all the military plans and deployment plans of Chitose City. So now everything is just going according to the script of the undead fleet. Chin Luo couldn't find any reason why Chitose City could be defended. Under the veneer of victory, the fate of defeat has been revealed. Chin Luo planned to let Olivia see the tragic situation in Chitose City and go directly to O'Hara. It's time to help her make up her mind. Chin Luo's words were soon fulfilled, and the smooth-sailing war suddenly changed. First, an army of undead suddenly appeared in Chitose City and attacked the palace and the headquarters, and then the representatives of those forces whose abilities could not be used due to the death domain were assassinated, and the entire city became a mess. In this case, some pirates and bounty hunters who had been promised by King Noras XVI to help in the defense faced a large number of casualties caused by the sudden outbreak of the opponent's undead. Everything was premeditated, and those undead hid part of their strength. But the rest won't take that into account. They only have one idea: it is not worth throwing their lives here for some financial commitment. This idea blew across the battlefield like a storm. In an instant, the battle situation that was still out of advantage turned into a mud pond, and finally became a hell for the defenders of Chitose Castle. Why is this happening? King Noras XVI, who faced the battlefield in person, watched the situation change from heaven to hell. The great victory came to nothing in the blink of an eye. The old king couldn't understand why the war suddenly became like this. Pirates and Marine gave up Chitose Castle, leaving only the kingdom's troops struggling to the death in the entire Chitose City. King Noras XVI wanted to ask the Red Earl what happened. Didn't the Red Earl say that this war would definitely be the victory of Nora's kingdom? But unfortunately, the Red Earl did not have time to pay attention to him at this time, and he encountered a big trouble. Chapter 451 Earl vs. Aedu. It's true that the Red Earl participated in the war, but how could he be involved in ordinary fights as arrogant as he was? It is impossible to find some ruthless characters in the undead to fight, so he has only been paddling on the edge of the battlefield. He managed to get rid of some of the undead fish that ran up to him. Since he came to the Norris Kingdom, the Red Earl's idea was to use the power of the Norris royal family to help him search for Olivia. As a result, until now, Nicole Olivia has never been able to find any information except for one appearance. As for the life and death of Château's city, the Red Earl doesn't care at all, and he has done his best to help the Norris Kingdom pull other forces into the water. Even if Château's castle is finally destroyed and the entire city dies, his Red Earl can still leave safely with the benefits he got. The Red Earl couldn't help thinking of the treasure room in the Norris Palace, the treasures inside and the mysterious jade. The Red Earl decided to take those things away before leaving, and then go to find Nicole Olivia. Anyway, no matter whether Château's city can block the attack of the undead, he will not lose. The changes in the battlefield also fell in the eyes of the Red Earl. Although he had already guessed it, he was surprised that the defeat came so quickly. Immediately, the Red Earl knew that the enemy was not a monster bound by instinct, and there should be ruthless characters in the undead fleet who have been calculating the entire war. That being the case, let alone the undead, the Red Earl immediately decided to retreat. After knocking down the last undead beside him, the Red Earl took out a phone bug and dialed it. Blue, blue. Torapal, prepare to retreat. The Red Earl didn't like alliances, but the cooperation of mutual use was still within his acceptable range. Now he does have a place in the Don Quixote family. Therefore, it is still necessary to inform the ally of the retreat. After hanging up the phone, the Red Earl planned to rush in the direction of the palace, which would be his last stop from Château's city. Since he couldn't find Nicole Olivia, his next target was directly O'Hara's scholar group. The Red Earl's wishful thinking was ultimately not realized. When the Red Earl was about to put away the phone bug, a black slash suddenly appeared from the house on his right. The house that the slash passed through was like straw that had been cut off, leaving only the short part less than half a meter high. The wind of death and annihilation. The attacker did not intend to hide himself, and along with the slash was a beautiful voice and a white jade-like scepter. Faced with this situation, the battle-hardened Red Earl did not panic. When the slash approached his side, he tilted his body to the right and avoided it by the slightest millimeter. The blade at the bottom of the scepter rubbed the clothes on the Red Earl's left arm. The blade did not touch the Red Earl, but the edge of the sword she successfully left a small gap on his left arm, but it was not serious. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the Red Earl kept his feet and quickly distanced himself from the visitor. The houses behind the Red Earl were not so lucky. The slashing Yue turned 7 or 8 houses in a row into ruins. Wails and screams continued. Why is the undead offensive so fierce? It has already hit the city. This was the first reaction of the Red Earl, and after seeing the attacker, he didn't think so. Because the one who attacked him was Governor Ai of the undead fleet. When Marine Marshal Kong saw the change in the battle situation, he got out of the fight with Aidu immediately, and dragged Garp back to the Marine fleet. Aidu didn't find it boring to continue fighting with Marine. Without being disturbed, he went directly to the direction of the Red Earl, which just stopped the Red Earl who was about to retreat. Red Earl. Aidu took a close look at the person on the opposite side, and was sure that the target was right, and the black substance spread out from behind him like a tide. When the Red Earl looked at the posture on the other side, it was obviously aimed at him, but the Red Earl did not remember that he had a grudge with the undead fleet. Wait, is there any misunderstanding between Your Excellency and me? If it is because of this city, Your Excellency will do whatever you want, and I will not do anything to stop it. The Red Earl didn't want to fight Aidu, because it meant nothing to him. Earl Red wanted to explain, but the black mass behind Aidu didn't seem like a sign of acceptance and reconciliation. According to the agreement with Esser Shali, Governor A would not just let the Red Earl go back so easily. It would be better if he could get the seal rune directly here. The Tide of Death. Aedu pointed at the Red Earl with the scepter in his hand, and the black substances boiled. The restless black matter surrounded the Red Earl in the form of a wave. The arms of countless corpses emerged from the front of the wave, accompanied by the wail of the soul, as if it were the reproduction of the Hell River. This is the true form of the Tide of Death. Aedu smiled with satisfaction, and continued to attack the Red Earl on a wave. The Red Earl can keep pace with Roger and Whitebeard, and the real strength is naturally above Admiral. What's more, he is not a devil fruit person now, and he is not affected by the death domain. Hey, drink your blood, Fang. The Red Earl raised the slender sword in his hand with one hand, and the black armament hockey quickly spread over the entire sword, and stabbed out with a flash of cold light at the tip of the sword. Countless sword shadows erupted, condensed into the shape of a fang and collided with the surging tide of death. The stabbing sword shadow cut the black tide directly, and with a sound of bang, the black staff sword wrapped in Hockey's hands and the white bone staff of Aedu faced each other. You provoked someone you shouldn't provoked, undead. Reverse the cross. The Red Earl and Aedu fought several times in a row, and seized the opportunity to suppress the main Aedu's bone scepter in one fell swoop and knock it back. After that, the stick sword in the Red Earl's hand slashed twice in a row, from bottom to top, from right to left. A black cross was outlined and buckled on Aedu's body. The pitch-black cross slash dragged Aedu and flew backwards, smashing the black wave behind him, and didn't stop until it hit the wall of a house. The Tide of Death that had been interfering with the Red Earl was evacuated back to the body of Aedu with the blow of Aedu, and the whole street was instantly empty. Smash! Looking at Aedu who was lying by the wall, the Red Earl spat out and was about to leave. Where are you going, Earl Red? The game has just begun. Chapter 452 Phantom Clone. Impossible. No one was hit by the reverse cross slash. Hearing that special voice, the Red Earl turned around in disbelief, swallowing what he wanted to say after seeing something. After a while, he continued, I see. In front of Earl Red, Governor A, who had fallen by the wall, stood up with a shallow smile on his face, giving him the feeling of a cheerful boy. Of course, it would be better if he didn't have those flying black substances around him and a huge cross-shaped wound on his chest. These black substances were squirming on Aedu's wounds, and it only took about a second for these wounds to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye in front of the Red Earl, together with the torn clothes. At this time, Governor A was exactly the same as when the two first met, just like going back in time. This is what you rely on. Knowing that the other party would not let him go easily, the Red Earl gradually became angry, and the most angry thing was that he didn't even know why the other party came to find fault. Aedu doesn't care much about the provocative words of the Red Earl. The dead don't have too many emotions, and the same goes for their high-level undead. How can it be said to rely on it? It's an instinct, just like your wound will scab over. Aedu twisted his joints, and what he said meant something. In the just short battle, Aedu was not without gain, and the Tide of Death still encountered the Red Earl, especially the wound on his left arm. At this time, the left arm of the Red Earl showed a sign of decay from the wound, if the withered plants were generally covered with gray and black symbolizing death. The Red Earl also noticed the appearance of his left arm, and this state really misses some of his abilities, aging. Unfortunately, this trick is useless to him. He is the one who has mastered this ability, how can he not handle this ability? The Red Earl pressed his left arm with his right hand, and in the next second the aging power was transferred away, and the arm returned to its original appearance. You really have that kind of power. Aedu, who saw this scene, mistook the Red Earl for someone with divine power, and firmly believed that the seal rune was in the Red Earl's hands. What a dramatic misunderstanding. Thinking that a vampire-like existence holds divine power, it is really embarrassing for that vampire. However, it is impossible for the two of them to talk, find a chance to sit down and drink tea, and explain the misunderstanding. Such an opportunity does not exist. Because, the two people who added the buff directly did it. I don't know what you're talking about, but I know I'm going to chop you to pieces and see if your instincts can save you." The Red Earl accelerated sharply, and the figure disappeared in place. When it appeared, it had already come to the top of Aedu, and the pitch-black sword was like a black lightning bolt, and the target was Aedu's Tianlingai. The Red Earl seemed to want to try what would happen if he stabbed someone through the head. Ding! What touched the tip of the stick sword was not a bone, but a pitch-black shield. Aedu didn't want to be a string of flesh and blood, and when the Red Earl disappeared, he called out the black shield. A shield composed of a highly concentrated black substance. If one hit failed, the Red Earl immediately withdrew and came back. The Red Earl's black fangs, thorns continued to attack Aedu from all directions. With this black shield, Aedu blocked most of the critical damage, and the remaining minor injuries were automatically recovered in less than a second. It's not very good to go on like this. The Red Earl gets angry when he sees the appearance of IE's gentleman on the opposite side. The Red Earl was very helpless. The black shield seemed to be able to defend itself and could always predict the direction of his attack. You have to use all your strength. The Red Earl bit his finger, and a few drops of dark red blood spilled in the air. The dark red blood began to swell violently as soon as it left the Red Earl's body. In the blink of an eye, a few drops of blood turned into 3 meatballs, and finally turned into the appearance of a Red Earl. Except the faces are a little blurry, the 3 Red Earls are exactly the same as the deity in terms of height and clothing, and the swords in their hands. This is not an illusion, this is the innate ability of the Red Earl. His blood essence can create a flesh and blood puppet with consciousness and thinking. The previous fake, Olivia, also used this skill. The Red Earl calls this move a phantom clone, but don't ignore him if you think it's a clone. As long as the Red Earl is willing to pay enough price and blood essence, the strength of the phantom clone can even be exactly the same as him. With the phantom avatar, it will be difficult for Aedu's turn. Facing the 4 red counts who couldn't tell who was the deity and who was the clone, Duai's black shield couldn't protect him all the way. I saw 4 blurry figures, surrounding Aedu, and the sword shadows in all directions turned into a sword blade storm that enveloped Aedu. The ground was soon covered with black matter splashed from Aedu's body. The ultimate move that the Red Earl is brewing is already in the making, and no matter how powerful the undead will be, there will be weaknesses, and that is where the soul is stored. Earl Red could feel that in the frantic attack on Aedu, Aedu would first subconsciously protect his head. Sure enough, his soul was also stored in his head. There was a trace of cruelty at the corner of the Red Earl's mouth, and the speed of the slash with the sword in his hand accelerated again. The same is true for the 3 clones, which turned into 3 blood-red figures and appeared around Aedu. The blood-red figure gradually melted and turned into a bloody sword. Thousands of blood swords are interspersed back and forth on Aedu's body, and the black matter will not be taken away by the blood swords, just like a fountain. Phantom strangulation. The Red Earl transformed his clone into a blood sword to strangle the enemy. This move is not only powerful, but the scene is also very shocking. The only disadvantage is that the price is too high. When the strangulation was over, the tens of thousands of red silk threads dissipated, and Governor A appeared at this moment. The black shield has disappeared, and the human Aedu can no longer be seen. What appears is a skeleton with black flesh and blood. The only intact one is the white bone scepter, which is still as white as jade. Die away, Fang. This is the last blow, undead. The Red Earl swung his sword and his fangs pierced through Aedu's skull. My name is Aedu, the Red Earl. Aedu, who had been acting like a dead end, suddenly said playfully to the Red Earl. Earl Red doesn't feel good, but it's now, don't you think it's too late? The black coffin. The black matter on the ground moved instantly and turned into a huge black coffin to trap the two together. Chapter 453 Embarrassed Escape. The black hood that trapped the Red Earl and Aedu together, compared to the black coffin, was more like a huge iron maiden composed of black substances. Aedu thought very clearly that he himself only had the strength of Admiral S. peak. If it weren't for the ability of almost immortality and the huge energy storage, let alone dealing with the Red Earl, it would be enough to escape from his hands. Because of the death domain, Aidu is the nemesis of most devil fruit people, but who is he fighting recently? Marine Marshal Kong, the solitary Red Earl. I'm sorry, these two people are not devil fruit powers now. In short, Aidu's own fleet commander was abused by two groups of enemies, and he had to use his powerful recovery ability to cover up the fact that he was abused. These days, it's not good if you don't act. Those with poor acting skills don't even have a chance to survive. After the Red Earl summoned his phantom clone, Aidu was basically in a passive state of being beaten. If he really depended on his strength, Aidu did not think that he could find an opportunity to seriously damage the Red Earl. So there is a scene of trying hard, but selling it badly is also part of his plan. Only in this way can the Red Earl's guard be lowered and as much black matter as possible be laid out. All plans are for the moment the Red Count appears in front of him. The Black Coffin didn't just trap the Red Earl, but the governor of AE planned to use this to establish the victory. The appearance of the Black Coffin did not use up all the black matter. The remaining black matter floated up, converged with each other, and condensed into more than 300 black thumb-thick, 1-meter-long spikes. These spikes scattered around the Black Coffin, and then the black shadow flashed, all poking into the Black Coffin. At this time, the Black Coffin was the Iron Maiden. In fact, it took only a minute for the Red Earl to pierce Aidu's skull until he was trapped by the Black Coffin and besieged with spikes. But in this minute, there were too many reversals, so much that it would not be abrupt for the Red Earl to emerge from the Black Coffin unscathed later. Of course, being unscathed is an exaggeration. A bloody cross-slash exploded from the Black Coffin, and at the same time destroyed the strange Black Coffin. A figure ran out of the Black Coffin in embarrassment. It was the Red Earl. He didn't die in the weird Black Coffin, but he was obviously not feeling well now. His whole body was covered with numerous stab wounds, and blood was pouring out like no money. You might even wonder how there is so much blood in the Red Earl's body. The Red Earl took something out of his arms and swallowed it, barely stopping the blood, and the next moment he left in the direction of the palace without stopping. I could vaguely hear the Red Earl muttering, "A madman, I am also a madman, to actually fight this kind of monster." After 5 minutes, there was movement in the crippled Black Coffin, which slowly melted and turned into a liquid black substance, which was finally taken back into the body by Aidu, who had recovered his human form. Aidu did not expect that this would not kill the Red Earl. In the final, Black Coffin ritual, even he was attacked together. It took him so long to recover from his immortality. How did the Red Earl survive? Armament hockey of the Red Earl so strong? Or that divine power? Forget it. Governor A sighed and stopped thinking about it. With the strength of Earl Red, if he planned to run from the beginning, as long as he paid a small price, Governor A really couldn't keep him. It is fortunate to be able to complete the task of severely injuring the Red Earl now, and then it will be up to Essershally. It was neither Holy Light nor Armament Hockey who saved the Red Earl, but the racial instinct that burst out of him a second before his death. Just like Garrett of the Fur Tribe changes form when he gazes at the full moon. In the shadow of massive blood loss and death, the Red Count further awakened the vampire abilities within his body, a certain degree of immortality and blood control. This ability allowed the Red Earl to survive, and it also cost him a great deal. For the Red Earl, the most important thing is blood essence. He only used 3 drops of blood essence to summon the Phantom before, but in order to survive, the Red Earl basically drained every drop of blood essence in his body. Now the Red Earl's body is aging and decadent at an extremely fast rate, and it seems that every minute is getting older than before. Before finding a solution, the Red Earl will not only greatly regress in strength, but also drastically reduce his physical function. Almost forcibly enduring the injury on his body, the Red Earl came to the treasure room of the Norris Palace in line with the principle of thieves not going empty. At this time, the palace was in chaos, and the undead who came out of nowhere attacked the palace, and the Norris royal family was basically over. The undead appeared in the palace, which made the Red Count subconsciously raise his vigilance. No way, I just suffered a big loss at the hands of an undead, and I almost gave up my life. If I'm not vigilant, I don't want to live. In this state, the Red Earl was unable to take much away, so he went straight to the room with the dark compartment. The Red Earl intends to take away only what is in the dark compartment. According to the character of King Norris XVI, the secret cell is so hidden, there must be the most precious things hidden in it, especially the mysterious piece of jade. A voice told him in the dark that the jade was dangerous. But the more this happened, the more unwilling the Red Earl was to let this jade fall into the hands of others. 0. The Red Earl has confirmed over and over again that there is no one around, so he opened the hidden compartment and took out the contents. But something happened when he took the last thing, the jade. A person walked out of the wall for no reason, Shirley, and she gathered this basketball-sized flame in her hand. This is a gray-black flame, the heart of the flame is tragic green, and there is a soul wailing on the flame. When the Red Earl got the fake version of jade, Shirley threw the flame in his hand towards him. With just a glance, the Red Earl was sure that the woman who suddenly appeared was an undead. The strange way of appearance and the burning soul were all at high speed. He was an undead. At this time, the Red Earl had only one idea, and that was to escape. The Red Earl took the things and jade into his arms, blocked the strange flames flying with his left hand, and ran out of the room without thinking much. Want to run, soul-burning demon fire chains. With a light drink from Shirley, the flame attached to the Red Earl's left arm let out a sharp wail, and a flame rope extended from the flame and landed on her hand. Shirley pulled the rope to stop the Red Earl who was running away. His eyes were like a hunter looking at his prey struggling in vain. Chapter 454 The End of Chateau's Castle. When has the lonely Red Earl been seen with such eyes? In the past, he used this look to look at the little bugs that fell into the traps and calculations he devised. The Red Earl was ashamed to die, but he did not dare to stay. Today, he has been plotted by the undead ones. In his current state, once he is left behind, he really cannot escape. The Red Earl looked at his left hand, and his heart was ruthless, and he had already made a decision. The Red Earl raised his sword in his right hand and slashed at the treasure house behind him. The blood-red slash cut off the pillars and walls of the treasure house like cutting tofu. The treasury that collapsed in an instant turned into ruins, countless treasures were damaged and buried, and Shirley, who was still in the treasury, was buried under the ruins. Shirley was very calm and a little disdainful. Destroying the treasure trove is not enough to trap her, and burying it will not cause any harm to the undead. As long as she thought about it, it was not easy to get out of the ruins. This Red Earl, who is said to be very interested, has only so many means, and it seems that he has been severely injured by Governor A. I wonder if it would be too naive to run away from her so easily. Shirley clenched the flame chain in his hand. As long as the flame chain in his hand was still there, then the Red Earl would never try to escape from her. The straightened flame chain indicates that the bound enemy has not left the chain's range. Shirley was looking forward to seeing the desperate and unwilling eyes of her prey after she got out of the ruins. This is the best reward. When he thought of the hopeless look of the enemy, especially from a strong man, he couldn't stop it with excitement. I don't know how long it has been. She hasn't enjoyed this kind of fun. Shirley walked out of the ruins of the treasure house slowly, only to find that things did not develop as she imagined, and the tight flame chains deceived her. Outside the ruined treasure house, there is still a Red Earl, only a broken arm nailed to the ground in the distance is connected to the flame chain in Shirley's hand. The taut flame chains made Shirley think that the Red Earl was always under her control. After all, the target is humans, not undead. Shirley never imagined that the other party would give up his left arm so easily. Shirley and the Red Earl couldn't even count on fighting, and they had to run away with a disability before they could make a move. Shirley didn't think she was so scary, and it was because she underestimated the Red Earl's determination to escape. The purpose of destroying the treasure trove was to briefly disturb Shirley. When the treasure house was in ruins and the dust and smoke blocked his sight, the Red Earl cut off his left arm directly and nailed it in the distance as a bait. The soul-burning fire was raging, burning the broken arm left by the Red Earl to ashes. The violent flames represent the mood of its owner, and behind the jumping flames is the terrifying face of Sir Shalihe. Sir Shalihe squatted and ambushed the Red Earl in the Norris Palace for a whole day, but because of a moment of negligence, he lost the track of the Red Earl and lost the opportunity to obtain the seal rune. In the end, Sir Shalihe's anger turned into a deadly hellfire and vented on the Norris Palace. The grey-black flame rose into the air under the control of Sir Shalihe, and continued to grow in the process of rising, and finally became a huge fireball with a diameter of 10 meters suspended in the air. From this fireball, groups of flames fell on the entire palace like magma sputtered by a volcanic eruption. As a result, the entire palace was lit, and in the wailing, the souls of the survivors in the palace became the best accelerant for the fire. The tragic situation did not draw any rescue, even though it was the country's royal palace that was burning. In just half an hour, the Norris Kingdom army, without the support of marine, pirates and other forces, was completely defeated. The walls of Château's city were all occupied, and the undead fleet entered the city and began to harvest life. Château's city is gradually being turned into the underworld, where the living are not protected, and those who are hiding are found and killed one by one. Most of the civilians started running towards the marine port northeast of Château's castle. Not only because of the marine fleet and some ships rescuing civilians there, but also because it is the opposite direction of the undead fleet's attack. The living people just want to stay away from the occupied southwestern city as far as possible, and then live for a while longer. The number of civilians that the marine fleet and commercial ships can rescue is limited, and the time for rescue is even more limited. When necessary, marine and other ships must abandon the civilians that are still densely packed in the port, in order not to be chased by the undead fleet. Superior. Countless people died under the butcher's knife, and countless people died on the way to survive. The mourning hell does not distinguish between the elderly, children, women or young people, but the weak will lose their qualifications to survive first. Chin Luo and Olivia saw everything in Vice Admiral of Clouds. The Norris royal family is over, most of the members have been reduced to ashes along with the palace, and Norris 16 has also become the king of the subjugated country. After he was caught, Governor A turned him into an undead and joined the destruction of Château's city. Château's castle is also over, and hell is reaching out to him. This port city that has prospered for hundreds of years, the spreading fire has turned the buildings into ruins, and the streets and ports of the past are full of blood and turned into hell on earth. Chin Luo, can you save those innocent people? This is not the first time Olivia has asked Chin Luo this way, and the answer is no. Killing 1,000 people is easy, but saving 1,000 people is difficult. There are more than 1,000 people in this Château's city, and there are tens of thousands of people calling for help at the marine base port alone. Chin Luo didn't know if he could do it, and he didn't want to try. Chin Luo is not a cold-blooded 1.3 person, but he is also not a virgin. It's not too long since Chin Luo came to Pirate World. I don't know how many times I didn't kill Boren and Boren died because of me. Is it difficult for him to save him every time? Impossible. Chin Luo at most helped them to avenge their death while pity. You should know that a few days before the arrival of the undead fleet, Marine and the Norris royal family did not evacuate these civilians and it was doomed to have such an ending. Chin Luo comforted Olivia, watching this kind of massacre happen in front of everyone will not be better. But I decided that you have to decide quickly. If you don't hurry, O'Hara's ending will be no different from Château's city. The marine fleet should go directly to O'Hara after finding a place to place civilians. The undead fleet is digesting after Château's castle. We will also go to the Devil's Tomb. Chapter 455. Back to O'Hara. Olivia knew that Chin Luo was not alarmist, but that things were exactly what Chin Luo said. Okay, go to O'Hara, now. Seeing Château's castle turned into hell, Olivia also witnessed the Norris royal family swallowing the consequences of the country's ruin, so she said to go to O'Hara immediately. A decision has been made. Is there any plan on O'Hara's side? Chin Luo got the result he wanted. He told Olivia to go back to O'Hara first, but Olivia wanted to see the movements of the undead fleet and marine first. For several days. Olivia's character is too strong. She must do something for O'Hara, or she will be embarrassed to go back. Such a bare child, when he is not the protagonist of destiny, can come back alive after a circle on the great route. It is really fate. Not yet, but I'll go to O'Hara first. I need to talk to the scholars. I'll always think of a way to do it. Olivia grabbed Chin Luo's clothes with her right hand and looked at the sea in the distance. Said. Okay. Chin Luo pulled Olivia into his arms. At the age of 19, Chin Luo planned to use a warm embrace to tell her that he would be her most solid backing. When hugging, Chin Luo's eyes turned into kaleidoscopes, and a black hole of Shenwei appeared at the feet of the two of them. The two of them were swallowed easily and disappeared above the clouds. When Kamui's black hole unfolded again, the location had been changed to O'Hara's seaside. The soft sandy beach, the slightly salty sea breeze, the rustling waves, these familiar feelings sealed in my mind awakened Olivia, who was leaning against Chin Luo's arms. This is O'Hara's shore, Olivia asked suspiciously. That's right. Next, you'll lead the way. Chin Luo was not familiar with O'Hara. After stopping at the south bank of O'Hara, he handed over the guide to Olivia. It was already evening, and the red sunset dyed the entire sea and sky, like the reflection of Chateau's castle, which made Olivia quicken her pace of action. No matter what the next plan is, the first step is to convince the academic group. The scholar group is not just an academic group. In O'Hara, it is similar to the Council of Elders, which can greatly influence the decisions of all residents in O'Hara. Olivia made Dr. Kuroha, a highly respected librarian among the scholars, as the first person to visit, before the sun completely set at sea level. Without disturbing anyone else, Chin Luo and Olivia came to the Tree of Omniscience, the library with the largest number of scholars and books in the world. When you get close, you can feel the hugeness of the Tree of Omniscience, with a canopy as high as a mountain, a tree pole the size of a small island, and leaves that cover the sky. It's hard to imagine that this would turn out to be a library. The room of the director of the library, Dr. Kuroha, is easy to find, and he has not changed rooms since Dr. Kuroha became the director of this library. Although Olivia has been abroad for 2 years, every bit of her life and study in O'Hara is her most precious memory and has never been forgotten. Whether it is big heart or fearless, O'Hara has so many secrets and precious books, but there are basically no guards along the way. There was not even a guard on the edge of the room of the important scholar Dr. Kuroha. In the entire Tree of Omniscience, there is no other security force except for the guard at the door. Even the guard, with his sparse skills, was a cameo by an ordinary villager. The security force of the entire Tree of Omniscience is not as good as the city-level library of later generations. In the world of pirates, Marine simply needs to send a vice admiral and a few warships to complete the destruction of the entire O'Hara. With the intelligence capabilities in the hands of the Gorosei, 5 elders, one should not be unaware of this. Then they have to send 200 warships over. It seems that they want to make a show, in order to deter other forces that fight. Historical text. When Chin Luo was complaining in his heart, Olivia knocked on Dr. Kuroha's door. After the knock on the door, Dr. Kuroha opened the door. This is Chin Luo's first visit to Dr. Kuroha. His gray and wilted hair and bloodshot eyes indicate that the doctor's time has not been good. Olivia, it's really you, you're alive and back. Great, great. When Dr. Kuroha saw that Olivia was standing at the door, he couldn't help but lose control of his emotions. With tears of joy in Dr. Kuroha's eyes, he held Olivia's arm tightly, and kept repeating, "Great," in his mouth. To the old scholars in the entire scholar group, Olivia is like a daughter, even more important than a daughter. It is inconvenient to disturb the reminiscence, and always give enough time to this kind of reunion. It wasn't until half an hour later that Dr. Kuroha, who had been restrained enough, noticed someone who had been looking at the ceiling. Before entering O'Hara, Chin Luo and Olivia discussed and decided to appear in front of the scholars in the scholar group as Lu Yun, but Chin Luo will avoid contact with the villagers in O'Hara, and there are some things that need to be concealed. Hide. It's not that they don't trust the scholar group, but that some secrets are too heavy to keep. O'Hara's scholars have a big enough faith that they don't need to be supercharged. May I ask who you are? Dr. Kuroha could guess that Oro 873 via's return should not be possible without the help of this mysterious man with a mask on the side. Lu Yun. Chin Luo replied. Lu Yun, God Lu Yun. It's not that you have already. Dr. Kuroha always felt that Chin Luo's outfit was very familiar, as if he had seen it somewhere, but he couldn't find him and the rumored dead for a while. The flowing cloud that has arrived is on the number. Well, in the publicity of the outside world, I am indeed dead. Chin Luo naturally understood what Dr. Kuroha didn't say, and answered Dr. Kuroha with a natural expression, and emphasized the word, death. Dr. Kuroha is not a fool, and despite his age, his thinking ability has not declined at all. Chin Luo's words showed that there was a big secret hidden in Marine's promotion of Lu Yun's death. Dr. Kuroha was very interested and didn't ask Chin Luo why he didn't come out to clarify. He just knew that the powerful Lu Yun not only didn't die, but also helped Olivia and appeared in O'Hara together. Originally, Dr. Kuroha had already despaired of O'Hara's fate, but now he seems to have seen some hope and vitality. Dr. Kuroha's mind turned quickly, thinking about Chin Luo's possible purpose for O'Hara. He must grab this life-saving straw and save O'Hara. Chapter 456 Negotiate to Survive. The way Dr. Kuroha looked at Chin Luo made him and Olivia unbearable. There is no way, it is too hot, it is a look that will strip Chin Luo alive. Olivia coughed a few times before Dr. Kuroha realized his gaffe and quickly returned to his original appearance. Chin Luo was also relieved from the tight state of chrysanthemum. In order to divert the embarrassment, Chin Luo asked Dr. Kuroha, Dr. Kuroha, don't you know that Marine plans to slaughter the entire O'Hara? I don't think you were prepared at all, just like waiting for your fate. Chin Luo's words are not polite at all, because there is no reason for the whole world to know that Marine is going to destroy O'Hara in a high-profile manner, but the O'Hara people who are the target are still kept in the dark. This kind of information can only happen after such a delay. Chin Luo won't believe it anyway, so is O'Hara just accepting his fate? This matter was told to us half a month ago when Marine named Saren returned to O'Hara with the other 33 crew members on the Olivia ship. Dr. Kuroha sat back in his chair, said calmly. Really, the 33 crew members are all alive and have returned to the island, thank God. Olivia was so excited that she almost cried when she got the news of the 33 crew members. Then why aren't you doing anything at all? Not only Chin Luo, but Olivia also wanted to know the reason. There was half a month as a buffer, enough for all the people on O'Hara to evacuate, not like this. No, we have already acted, starting from the time we got the news 2 weeks ago. Dr. Kuroha took a sip of coffee and listed O'Hara's actions in the past 2 weeks. As early as a week ago, people who could be transferred and who would not attract Marine's attention had left O'Hara one after another and continued their lives elsewhere. Most of the people still in the village now have a deep relationship with O'Hara. Or people who don't want to leave. Even so, you have to run away. There is only one dead end in O'Hara. There is still a chance to escape. Olivia didn't understand such behavior and protested loudly. Escape, and where can you escape? Now it's not just Marine. All forces are fighting the idea of historical texts and O'Hara scholars. The spies of these forces, Marine and world government, are in the waters next to O'Hara. Waiting, as long as we go out to sea, we will not be able to hide from their eyes. As long as it is a person who has a deep relationship with O'Hara, the next thing they will face is their endless pursuit. Dr. Kuroha sighed and continued to talk about the helplessness in his heart. And even if we humans can get away, the Tree of Omniscience can't, and we can't take the books inside it. Without the Tree of Omniscience and these books, the O'Hara scholars would cease to exist. Us old fellows have lived enough, don't bother, just wait for the doomsday with the Tree of Omniscience. Quote. Chin Luo looked into Dr. Kuroha's eyes, carefully observed his expression, and wanted to see something insincere from it. However, it is a pity that everything is as Dr. Kuroha said, his eyes are full of despair for the road ahead and the calmness to meet death. Dr. Kuroha, when you just heard my identity, your eyes were full of hope and hope. That kind of eyes can't deceive people. Why are you giving up now? Those who pretend to be asleep will never wake up, and those who wait for death will never be saved. Chin Luo is not afraid of anything else, but is afraid that these old stubborn people from the O'Hara Scholar Group will come to. The island is there, and the island is dead. Chin Luo, who does not save himself, will not save or save himself. Chin Luo must now arouse the belief in survival of the O'Hara Scholar Group. Indeed, I had the idea that a powerful cloud god could change O'Hara's fate before, but I gave up this idea after I calmed down. As long as O'Hara exists, the world government will not give up on destroying O'Hara. Thoughts: Lu Yunchen can't always protect O'Hara. But with Lu Yunchen, at least he can keep Olivia and Robin's mother and daughter away, so I can rest assured. Dr. Kuroha said it in a way of saying his last words, giving Chin Luo the feeling of being an orphan on his deathbed. For Dr. Kuroha's statement that he blesses O'Hara, what Chin Luo wants to say is, I have no problem. Chin Luo can even destroy the world government and marine, it's not like he hasn't done such a thing. But after talking like this, Chin Luo also understood that the group of O'Hara scholars didn't really want to die, they just couldn't find any hope of living. This is easy to handle. Weak strength limits the imagination of these people, even if they read a lot, it is useless. Chin Luo is like shouting, mortal, you know nothing about real power. Then the tiger body showed its strength for a while, and received the worship of all ordinary people. Out of respect, Chin Luo finally cut off the head and tail of his YY content, leaving only the part showing his strength. Dr. Kuroha, maybe you should take a look at this. As Chin Luo finished speaking, his eyes turned into kaleidoscopes, and the black hole of Shinwei appeared in front of Dr. Kuroha's eyes and gradually became larger until the room was filled with it stabilizes when it doesn't go down. A vast and boundless alien space appeared in front of Dr. Kuroha, accompanied by Chin Luo's description. I have a certain ability, divine power space, stable and able to hold people, and it is no problem to evacuate more than 10 O'Hara. Now Dr. Kuroha, are you still going to die? Chin Luo let out a playful smile, but Dr. Kuroha didn't care at all. The empty divine space opened a door to life for O'Hara. Dr. Kuroha, who was in shock, asked Chin Luo several questions about Shinwei space. For example, how long can the space door be opened, how long a living person can survive in the Shinwei space, whether it is stable, and so on. After he had to bring Chin Luo's definite answer, Dr. Kuroha closed his eyes to digest the information he had obtained, opened his eyes and knelt on the ground suddenly and bowed to Chin Luo. O'Hara everyone, kneel down. Thank you Lu Yun God for saving your life. Quote. Dr. Kuroha's move came so suddenly that Chin Luo and Olivia didn't expect that the doctor was already kneeling on the ground when they noticed it. Olivia hurried to Dr. Rakuroha to get up. Chin Luo was different. He was already familiar with this kind of scene, and he generously accepted Dr. Kuroha's kneeling thanks. For this kind of life-saving grace, Chin Luo receiving this gift will make these people more at ease. Of course, in order not to be punished by Olivia to kneel on the washboard, Chin Luo also went to help Dr. Kuroha after receiving the salute. After that, Chin Luo, Olivia and Dr. Kuroha discussed the work arrangement for O'Hara's evacuation. Chapter 457 Escape Plan. There are only about 1,500 scholars and residents still remaining on O'Hara. Most of them are scholars and their families. Don't look at the fact that there are not many members of the O'Hara Scholars Group. This is because if you want to become a member of the O'Hara Scholars Group, you must pass a strict examination and get the recognition of the scholars of the Scholars Group before you can be awarded as one of the O'Hara Scholars Group. Members' qualifications. Nico Robin was able to pass the test at the age of 8 and successfully joined the O'Hara Scholars Group, which does not mean that the test is easier. On the contrary, this exam is very difficult, and Nico Robin can pass it, which proves her strong learning talent and learning ability. It is also the result of being fascinated by the teachings of members of a group of scholars since childhood. Scholar Corps Reserve, members and their families on O'Hara. This part of scholars also participated in the study of the historical text, and was targeted by marine and other forces. In addition to these scholars, the remaining approximately 600 or so people are the true pure inhabitants of O'Hara. These people are either fishermen and farmers on the island, various craftsmen, or militiamen on the island. These people all have one thing in common. Their family has been rooted in O'Hara for a long time, and has completely infiltrated the bloodline into O'Hara's land. Whether it is soul or blood, these people have been deeply branded with O'Hara. The world government regards these people as O'Hara's sinners, and in the process of destroying O'Hara, they are also not spared. In general, such numbers are not many. As long as the notice goes on, even if the entrance of Chin Luo Shinwei space is not wide, 1,500 people can be transferred to Shinwei space in a very fast time. The final negotiated plan was to send away the precious research materials and books in the Tree of Omniscience in a day or two. After all Marine's fleets arrive, all the residents of O'Hara will pass through Chin under Marine's gunfire. Luo's Shinwei space is transferred. The whole plan will be carried out in secret, which means that there will be very few people in the whole plan. Apart from Chin Luo and Olivia, only Dr. Kuroha and a few elders in the scholar group know the whole plan. Chin Luo, or even Lu Yun, is only known to Dr. Kuroha. Even though there are only less than 1,600 people on O'Hara Island, there are still a large number of spies sent by Marine, the world government and other forces inside these people. The news that Lu Yun was alive and came to O'Hara certainly couldn't be spread, even if it was a small request made by Chin Luo. Even Olivia shouldn't be announcing her return right now. Now the two most valuable people in O'Hara, a Dr. Kuroha and an Olivia. The former has known and studied the historical text for the longest time, while the latter has mastered the research results of the O'Hara fleet over the past few years. Once Olivia's return to O'Hara happens, Marine and other forces will probably be unable to sit still and gather in O'Hara. That's not what O'Hara wanted. In the next day or two, Dr. Kuroha will gradually gather the important and precious research materials and books on O'Hara's Tree of Omniscience in the name of the management and preservation of precious documents. In warehouse. There are so many books in the Tree of Omniscience, and not all of them need to be removed. Some common books will be left in the Tree of Omniscience, so the workload is not too large, and a day or two is enough. These books and research materials will be sorted and placed in the warehouse by Dr. Kuroha. After that, all Chin Luo had to do was to put the sorted bookshelf full of books into the Shinwei space. Easy thing to do, isn't it? Regarding the escape of more than 1,500 people on O'Hara Island, it was arranged on the day that Marine issued a slaughter order and began to bombard O'Hara. This plan is mainly to create an illusion that everyone on O'Hara has died in the slaughter order. A kind of illusion that the residents of O'Hara and the scholars of O'Hara went to the Yellow Springs with the Tree of Omniscience under the fire. To this end, Chin Luo also needs to prepare a corresponding number of corpses in the past few days. At that time, these corpses will be placed in the Tree of Omniscience to replace the displaced O'Hara Islanders and reduced to ashes in the fire. Dr. Kuroha and Olivia also discuss the feasibility of gradually transferring the Islanders over the past few days. Sheng said that in the end both of them rejected the approach. No matter what excuses are used, the continuous disappearance of people on the island will definitely attract attention from all quarters, especially the spies who are among the thousands of people who will definitely pass the news. At that time, O'Hara's escape plan will only be in vain. What Dr. Kuroha wanted was not only to escape from O'Hara, but more importantly, to remove O'Hara from the eyes of every force in the world. Otherwise, even if he escapes this time, he will face the pursuit of the whole world. Therefore, it was finally decided that on the day Marine ordered the bombardment of O'Hara, Dr. Kuroha would gather all the villagers to pass through Chin Luo's Shinwei space. At that time, even if the spies saw Chin Luo, they knew the whole escape plan, and there was no time or opportunity to pass on the news. Chin Luo will find a way to complete the escape and the daily necessities after the escape. When escaping into the Shinwei space, scholars and island residents will not take any luggage or property with them, and there is nothing particularly valuable anyway. From the discussion to now, the main escape plan has been made, and Chin Luo has not participated in the details. such as the list of documents and books that need to be transferred, the reason and timing of calling everyone on the island, etc. These things let Dr. Kuroha, who was familiar with O'Hara, communicate with Olivia. Chinluo greeted Olivia and left alone to prepare some things to be used in the plan. Chinluo first went back to Mermaid Island. 11 o'clock is already relatively late. For businesses in the pirate world that are not particularly developed, it is normal for the doors to close at night. But some places are different. Sabayati Archipelago, Fishman Street is such a place. Since the floating clouds protected Fishman Island and built the underwater tunnel, Fishman Street gradually replaced Sabayati Archipelago and became the largest trading center for pirates. The new title given to Fishman Street by the pirates. All shops and stalls here are never closed, only shifts are changed. This kind of scene has not stopped even the recent friction between Fishman Island and the surrounding pirate forces. Here Chinluo easily purchased enough living materials for more than 1,600 people for nearly half a year. Chapter 458 Play with the Soul. Without disturbing anyone in Ryaguchung, Chinluo used his illusion to change his shape and bought everything on Fishman Street. Fishman Island has long been an important place for pirates to stock up on travel supplies, and Chinluo's large-scale purchases are not surprising. Chinluo thought for a while, and finally sent these supplies to Sky Island. Fishman Island and Sky Island are good options for people on O'Hara who want to escape the world government. Both were held in Chinluo's hands and were equally concealed. But in contrast, Sky Island is still more suitable. Unlike Fishman Island, which has gradually become lively, Sky Island is still an inaccessible place even after more than 20 years. Get to Sky Island is to use the upwelling current, in addition to the ability to fly like Golden Lion. It is thought that such a death-like route can prevent all malicious prying eyes, and the spies hidden among the residents of O'Hara cannot spread the news. After doing all this, the only thing left to prepare is more than 1,600 corpses. Once again, Chinluo returned to Chitose City, and even at this time, sporadic massacres were still going on. In the silent night, wailing, blood and fire are the main themes of this city. Many people lost their hope of survival and could not accept this hellish scene, so they chose to commit suicide. The bodies of these people are Chinluo's first choice. These corpses are buried in O'Hara's Tree of Omniscience, which is better than the flesh and blood of the undead, at least one whole corpse is not. Therefore, Chinluo did not feel any pressure when he took away these corpses. The work of collecting the corpses went smoothly. At first, Chinluo was slow to collect one by one in the residential area. Later, in Norez's palace, Chinluo found corpses all over the place, and the number far exceeded his needs. Chinluo was also surprised that there were so many corpses in the palace. When the situation of Chitose Castle suddenly changed, the palace should be the first place to fall. Unexpectedly, the undead did not absorb these corpses. No matter what the plans of these undead have, Chinluo is going to leave these corpses now. The only strange thing is that the corpses died from strange causes. All the corpses have extensive burns, but it is reasonable to say that burns of this magnitude cannot take people's lives. This doubt was not revealed until Chinluo was about to leave. In a room somewhere in the Norez palace, Chinluo had just taken away the body of a suspected royal princess, and a flaming rope entangled Chinluo. The gray center with a tragic green flame indicated that the person who came was Sershali, who had been ambushing the Red Count before. For some unknown reason, Sershali was still in the palace and did not leave. Probably because of the lesson of the Red Earl breaking his hand to escape, this time Sershali wrapped the flame chain around Chinluo's waist. She didn't believe it anymore. There were people who could chop off their waists and run away. Even a Logia devil fruit-capable user, Sershali's soul-burning demon fire has the characteristic of confining and suppressing devil fruit. Little bug, I don't know how you took away those corpses, but then we have to pay for what we have. Under the appearance of a girl named Sershali, her voice was that of a mature lady. After she finished speaking, the flames in her hands burst into more turbulent flames. In the tragic green part of the flame, the souls came out wailing, completely wrapping Chin Luo. Chin Luo had a very disgusting feeling, and also understood why the corpses in the palace were so strange. It seemed that they all died under the flames of Esser. You're playing with the souls of the dead. Chin Luo was already angry when he did this. The power of Sershali is completely desecrating and torturing the dead. Even after death, the soul is bound and tortured in this flame. Killing is no more than a nod, but this vicious power brings endless pain to the deceased, unable to rest in peace. Playing, how could it be? These souls are all my treasures. Don't worry, you will also become one of them and welcome eternal death. Chin Luo's indifferent reaction stimulated Sershali. She was like a found the funniest toy with a look full of excitement and hideousness. As Sershali further exerted his strength, gray-white and pale green flames spread out. Chin Luo's whole body turned into a ball of fire. The top of the flame was 3 meters high, and it burned directly to the chandelier that the room was staring at. The flames didn't really hurt Chin Luo, but in places he couldn't notice, his hair kept withering and turning white in the flames. Originally, Chin Luo didn't know that Sershali had this kind of evil power, and he wouldn't attack the undead fleet now. But he couldn't help Sershali hitting Chin Luo himself. If he didn't die, he wouldn't die. A black flame emerged from Chin Luo's body. Amaterasu is an omnipotent flame. Even Sershali's soul-burning fire and soul, in front of Amaterasu, is just something that can burn. Like a virus, the black flame spread over the soul-burning fire that was burning on Chin Luo's body. The gray and tragic green were quickly swallowed up by the black, and the wails of those souls became sharper. Amaterasu's black flame was quickly transmitted to Sershali's hand along the chain of flames wrapped around Chin Luo, and it burned her body before she realized it was not good. Amaterasu was already attached to Sershali's arm when she threw away the flame chain in her hand. Amaterasu gave her an aura of destruction that no matter what she did, she couldn't get rid of it. The screaming Sershali turned around and fled. Where would Chin Luo give her this chance? He was already prepared. The flames on Chin Luo dissipated, and several black flames of Amaterasu turned into hooked claws with chains through the addition of earth life, and pinned Sershali to the ground. In the black Amaterasu flames, Sershali's skin and flesh were burned, revealing the bones inside. Chin Luo just sent the dying Sershali and removed Amaterasu. Sershali is still useful. Chin Luo gave her the death penalty, but it is not the time to pronounce the sentence. But Chin Luo didn't leave the soul in her flames. With a bad mood, Chin Luo, who had collected enough corpses, returned to O'Hara and appeared in front of Olivia. Chin Luo, what's wrong with you? You have met a strong enemy. As soon as they met, Olivia looked at Chin Luo and said, "Why do you say that?" Chin Luo was a little puzzled. Hair. Olivia pointed to Chin Luo's hair, reached out and grabbed a handful, and a pile of ash-like white hair appeared in her hand. Chin Luo regretted it. Sure enough, he should have known about the undead just now. Chapter 459 Bald Brother. Standing in front of the mirror, Chin Luo helplessly discovered the fact that he became stronger and bald. That kind of grayish-white flame with a pale green color seems to be able to take away the life force in the object it ignites. This effect of absorbing vitality is not obvious to Chin Luo's powerful body, but his bare hair suffers. Chin Luo, who came to this conclusion, was so frightened that he quickly looked down at his nails and the hair on his lower body. Ahem, Chin Luo was referring to his leg hair. Fortunately, Amaterasu showed up just in time, and the nails and leg hair were not affected much. Chin Luo wondered if he could use his full-level physical ability to make his hair longer. This idea is not impossible, but it turns out to be impossible. The premise of using full physical ability is that you have hair. But I'm sorry, now Chin Luo's hair is gone from the tip to the root, and the physical ability is completely useless. This meant that Chin Luo had to wear a bald head for a while. Are you all right? Think about some beautiful things. Even if your hair is gone, as long as you have hope, you can always live bravely. Olivia touched Chin Luo's bald head from behind and said worriedly, "Go go go, is it such an exaggeration? Isn't it because the hair is burned, and it is not bald, you say it's like the end of the world. Chin Luo waved away Olivia's hand on his head. Chin Luo may be able to accept that his hair is gone, but he must not accept others touching his bald head. It's an exaggeration. Hiyori becomes bald at the end of the world. I choose the former. Olivia said firmly. Chin Luo saw Olivia's serious appearance and knew that she was serious. Olivia, who was full of intelligence and wildness, was no exception. Ah, I'm losing. What did you talk about with Dr. Kuroha last night? Chin Luo changed the subject and couldn't keep Olivia's attention on his bald head, so he would be very uncomfortable. The history and sealing ceremony of the Undead Fleet. Olivia replied casually. Clam. Undead Fleet. Chin Luo couldn't believe it, suspecting that he had heard it wrong. Right, I was surprised at first that Dr. Kuroha was also researching this recently. There are several books in the Tree of Omniscience about the period of 1,000 years ago, and Dr. Kuroha found out a lot about the Undead Fleet from it. Information. There's information in it that I don't even know about. As expected of Dr. Kuroha. When it comes to Dr. Kuroha's research results, Olivia's face is full of admiration and excitement. Wait, that's not what I wanted to ask. Why didn't you talk about O'Hara's evacuation plan later on, but instead talked about the Undead Fleet? Are you really doing this well? And have you seen Robin? Facing Chin Luo's question, Olivia's response was relatively calm. All right, everything that needs to be discussed has been discussed. We are scholars, soon. In addition, it is not appropriate to talk about the two of us coming to O'Hara, so the next thing is Dr. Kuroha. I have nothing to do with the other members of the scholar group. It's not yet time for Robin. Olivia said so. Chin Luo can only wave his hand and make an expression that you have the final say and I am only responsible for the execution. I'm going to leave and get ready. Tell Dr. Kuroha that I'll be back at noon and let him get the first batch of books ready. Chin Luo greeted him, and Tilda has left the room. Said to be preparing. In fact, Chin Luo had already completed all last night, and Sky Island also greeted Gonfuer as Luyun. The going city of Sandora will serve as a future settlement for O'Hara residents. Chin Luo said so, just to find a reason to leave the room. Seeing Olivia's excited appearance, she must have fallen into the study of the Undead Fleet again this time. Chin Luo decided to wander around O'Hara Island, which would soon be lost in history. If you want to see the unique landscape on O'Hara, you must seize the opportunity now. Somewhere on a cliff east of O'Hara, a loli sat on a large rock, facing the sea and looking at the book in her hand. This loli was 6-year-old Nicole Robin. Chin Luo, who came to the vicinity, recognized it very easily. First, before Chin Luo crossed over, Nicole Robin was active in various books. Second, Robin and her mother Olivia did have similarities. Chin Luo didn't think Robin had sisters or anything. At the age of 6, which was supposed to be a playful age, Robin, a child, hid and read books by himself. The lack of parental care and the lack of fully mastered devil fruit abilities made her isolated as a monster by children in the same village. If Chin Luo remembers correctly, Robin will pass the exam in 2 years and become a member of the O'Hara Scholar Group. Chin Luo's arrival brought many things ahead. This time Gorosei, 5 elders did not send CP9, but directly ordered the slaughter of O'Hara. Marine's fleet also came to O'Hara 2 years earlier, with the addition of the Undead Fleet. A gust of sea breeze blew, and Robin's little loli was unstable and was about to be rolled off the stone. This kind of height is quite dangerous for a loli, and it is indispensable to fall on the ground and bleed. Chin Luo naturally wouldn't let it go, whether it was because she was Luffy's crew or because she was Olivia's daughter. Chin Luo had to rescue her. In the cry of exclamation, little loli Robin closed her eyes and held her head, waiting for the pain to come. The piece rolled off the stone, and the mature little loli was ready to be injured. However, as expected, the fall to the hard ground did not happen. A soft embrace caught her. 5.4 opened her eyes and saw the person who caught her. Brother Bald, thank you very much, but I haven't seen you before. Loli's words were like a basin of cold water poured directly into Chin Luo's heart. Bald-headed brother, well, it was a Loli who said this. Chin Luo resisted his plan to cast the girl on the earth and let her go. It's no wonder that Chin Luo was called like that. At this time, his image was like this, with a bald head and no mask. Chin Luo didn't plan to meet the residents of the island before, so he didn't plan to pretend. Thanks, no need. If you can, please remove the first two words. Chin Luo put the Loli in his arms on the ground, and the book that rolled aside was also taken into her hands. Okay, bald brother. Loli's voice was very nice, but what she said made Chin Luo's heart hit again. Chapter 460 Goodbye, D. Don't read at such a high place next time, it's too dangerous. Chin Luo touched little Robin's head and said softly. Okay, but as my brother from outside the island, I've never seen you before. Robin kept staring at Chin Luo, speaking with caution that should not be expected at his age. Chin Luo didn't know whether to cry or laugh. After thanking her, little Loli began to question her identity. In a trance, Chin Luo saw the mature and sophisticated royal sister from the Loli in front of him more than 20 years later. There are some essential things that really start to show from childhood. You're right, I'm from outside the island, but only Dr. Kuroha knows about this matter. You can go and confirm with the doctor quietly. But don't speed up other people when you go. Chin Luo didn't think that the reason he made up could deceive the bear child in front of him, so he simply moved Dr. Kuroha out. Loli, who was on the shelf life, nodded her head in disbelief, and she couldn't see what she was thinking from her face. Since he was a child, Robin has been excluded from being called a monster by other children on the island because of the devil fruit. Such an encounter made her learn to hide her expressions and thoughts early on. Although Robin was fostered in the house of Olivia's younger brother, he was not his own child after all. Olivia's younger brother's family is not particularly concerned about little Robin. As for O'Hara's scholars, they may be good teachers and scholars, but they will not be good elders. Chin Luo had a headache and felt a little distressed for little Robin. He patted Robin on the shoulder and said, I'm leaving first. We will meet again soon. I will prepare a gift for you then. Chin Luo was so distracted that someone in the distance was coming over and shouting Robin's name. Remember not to mention me to other people. With such a sentence in the air, Chin Luo has disappeared from Robin's eyes. This hand gave little Robin a lot of shock. S touch, and the person disappeared. Is this magic? Little Robin's eyes widened. Robin's expression was said to be leaving, but it was actually being watched by someone hiding aside. Chin Luo is not worried that little Robin will reveal his existence. With little Robin's cautious mind, even if she doesn't believe Chin Luo, she will confirm with Dr. Kuroha. Chin Luo hid aside to observe the people who were rushing in the direction of Robin. Hadwaru D. Saren, the former vice admiral of the Marine headquarters, belongs to the bold, optimistic and docile giant faction, and is also a friend of Marine's future Admiral Kuzan for many years. This is a kind-hearted giant with his own justice. Just like in the original book, Saren, who was in charge of escorting Olivia and his party, had a chat with the 33 crew members of Olivia. Not only did he put the 33 crew members who were escorted by him, but he also helped them return to O'Hara together. The kind-hearted Saren is once again friends with lonely little Robin, even if it's 2 years earlier than before. Chin Luo had a good impression of this giant, but he knew very little about him. In the original book, this gentle giant let his friend Kuzan spare Robin at O'Hara's doomsday. This time, though, with Marine assembled so many fleets to O'Hara, a lot of things will change. If there is any reason, it has to do with D. The giant Saren is another person with D in his name that Chin Luo met after Roger, Garp and Rouge, and also the first giant with D in his name. No one of the D family is a simple character, either with strong beliefs or strong strength. Chin Luo didn't think it was just a coincidence. The D family has always been a very important presence in the world of pirates, and it is also the key clue to uncover all the secrets hidden in the world of pirates. The names of the D clan also appear in many people's mouths: Gorosei, 5 elders, Sengoku, Redhead, Whitebeard, etc. However, Chinluo has been in the pirate world for so long, and so far he has not heard any legends and information about this family. All those in the know kept silent on this matter, and even the original novel did not reveal the answer to this mystery until it was very late. But this D family is definitely related to the history that disappeared 800 years ago. But what is certain is that D should have little to do with blood, as far as the existence of Saren is concerned. Whether it's being married to a giantess, or being married to a human woman by a giant, it's unbelievable. Chinluo watched secretly for a while on the side, and left after confirming that there was nothing to gain. Chinluo himself didn't expect to see anything by observation. In anticipation of such an unreliable harvest, Chinluo might as well ask Dr. Kuroha, who is studying the historical text, to help him find records in this regard. The Crown of Knowledge, located at the top of the canopy of the Tree of Omniscience, is also the office of the O'Hara Scholar Corps. The entire O'Hara Scholar Group is discussing the plans for the next few days in the conference hall. Dr. Kuroha covered up the real evacuation plan in the name of preserving the knowledge spark. The council's capacity includes keeping precious books deep underground in O'Hara, and summoning all the islanders to defend the Tree of Omniscience. Despite Dr. Kuroha's reputation as an old fool and a man's arm, the plan was carried out with his full push. No way, the people on O'Hara couldn't find any other way to escape the fate of being destroyed, so at least they struggled, whether it was useful or not. Why are you here? After the council ended, Dr. Kuroha, who returned to his office in the Crown of Knowledge, saw Chinluo. At this time, Chinluo was leaning on the canopy balcony and looking at the distant scenery. The scenery here is so beautiful. If I had a library like this before, I would be in the library all day long. Chinluo sighed. The Tree of Omniscience really belongs to the series of, The Country Owes Me Such a Library. Well, it's really beautiful, but soon this kind of beauty will disappear. Dr. Kuroha ignored Chinluo's unrealistic nonsense, and a kind of sadness emerged from his heart. All the evacuation plans discussed did not include the Tree of Omniscience, and the largest library had only one fate: to be destroyed by artillery fire. This is really hard to accept for Dr. Kuroha, who has been in the Tree of Omniscience for almost his entire life. I'll rebuild it when I have a chance in the future. How is the plan negotiating? Chinluo is not very good at comforting people, and his method has always been to change the subject. Everything is going well. You can go and take away the first batch of books later. Tell me about your purpose. You don't seem to be a very idle person. Chinluo scratched his cheeks, feeling the embarrassment of being seen through. He couldn't say that he was really idle.